Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. This is Night Owls for whatever week this is. We're in February for sure. And Thunder, I had myself a really good time looking for news for us to talk to about today. It was kind of like washing my ball sack with sandpaper, you know. But I mean, life is like that sometimes.
That time. It's that time of year where there's just nothing going on.
Well, there's a lot going on. It's just all really like, really. I mean, how desperate are you to say, me, look at me, I'm so pretty.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
yeah.
that.
Nothing good. Let's put it that way. Nothing
No,
good's going.
no. But I'm happy, and I've been doing a lot of kind of help for friends and reading and stuff, and that's good. I like reading, and my wife and I, because I've been kind of reading for like 15 hours straight every time I have an opportunity, just to get it done. But my wife and I were talking about that when we were first married. I always read, but she used to be a big reader too. But she doesn't do that so much anymore. She kind of sleeps under the kotatsu, watches her Korean dramas, and does jazzercise. And
Korean dramas? Oh,
yes,
no.
she's watching she's watching this one right now that is
Autism.
is really
Uh-huh.
a high school. I love him Korean drama with zombies thrown in.
Uh, oh,
Of
boy, a
of
Korean
course.
drama with zombies thrown in.
Of course. I have an important question for the universe, Thundero. When are the fucking zombies going to end, dude?
We'll never get rid of
Seriously.
zombies, I don't think. I don't think.
It's
They
been
just keep coming back.
it's been
Now, my wife
two
walked in here right when I
decades.
said Korean dramas,
Uh-huh.
and she goes, "Korean dramas? I love Korean
Oh
dramas." So
God.
there's that.
Yeah, no, women like them some Korean dramas, dude. It is true. I don't understand it because it's a lot of uh, melancholy and melodrama put together, which is usually, not, but it is.
Yeah, but
Uh,
Chester, have you met women? They love to be miserable.
that's true. That is true. Yeah. But my wife, she's always been a Korean drama type person. And I'm like, you realize that those Koreans kind of hate you, right? Because she's
Yeah.
Japanese. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but yeah, they don't care for the Japanese very much.
My wife would like to know the name of it, so now you have homework.
We are all dead, I think,
"We Are All Dead," he
or
said.
something like that.
Yeah, it's the one she thought it was, so she's probably watched it too or is gonna watch it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I apologize to you, because it
I'm
is,
not gonna watch it. I'll be in here. She can watch it up there on the big TV.
yeah, because it basically it is literally what I just told you. I love him high school drama with zombies thrown in. That's
My
exactly what
wife
it is.
wants to know if you've watched not you, but she
Uh-huh.
has watched What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, apparently is the name of one of them.
Oh no, I've definitely seen that title before. I do believe so.
Yeah.
But she's been watching Korean drama for 30 years, dude. It's
You've been
more.
watching Korean dramas for 30 years. There you go, babe. When we go to Japan, that's what you 2 can talk about.
Yeah. But they because women are interesting in this regard. You know how it's always like the women and their gay friend, right? Um,
Yeah.
they like the idea of the super soft crying man, and they'll
Mhm.
cry with him and stuff, and they'll say, "Oh, he's so cute, I love him," because they're safe, right? It's not something they have to be on top of their game with to deal with because this guy, maybe he's actually pursuing me. I got to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
They do that. They really, and I actually was talking to some of the high school girls, of course, in a very soft way. They're still kids, but because these days, boys here in Japan, and it seems like over in the West, a good chunk of them have become absolutely sissified. I mean, just effeminate men. Throw a stone, you hit one,
Yeah.
and so soft. And I asked the girls,
Poor
and I was
gal.
like, "Well, I was like, do you like that?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we love it." And I said, "That's bullshit." I call bullshit on them,
Yeah, it is
right?
bullshit.
I said, "You want to date that?" Well, no. Well, then why do you
Yeah.
like that,
I bet as
right?
soon as they, need their tire changed or They're afraid to walk home at night or something. Then all of a sudden, that fecklessness is a problem.
Yes, no, it is, right? And but whatever. As you like, it's okay. We men will just get it all done as we usual. We'll
Yeah.
just keep doing our thing.
One day, maybe we'll just stop. One day.
You never know. So, I mean,
And, Canada seems to be beating us to the punch, and I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like Americans need to get their stuff together. These our Canadian cousins, our little brother, is making us look foolish. Is making us look foolish. They're doing it. All they're doing is honking,
yeah,
Chester.
I
They're just
know.
honking, and they're toppling Canada. It's
It
amazing.
is. It is quite amazing, and it's I did. I will get to that in a minute. But it is quite amazing what the truckers are doing, and I don't give this kind of praise lightly, but God bless them.
Yeah,
Yeah, uh,
genuinely. God bless
genuinely.
them. It's like I was telling you right before we got on here. It's very interesting to see my theory get proven in real time or get tested in real time because I've said on here that it doesn't take very much to shut down a city, modern city, and these guys are proving it, and they're doing it completely peacefully. There's been very little or no violence. As far as I know, none of the violence, if there was any, was started by them.
Yep,
And all they're literally doing is just having a big old party. It's like a fair. I've seen some of the videos down there. They have bounce houses set up. They've got cook stations set up.
sure, and
They got food left and right.
awesome.
It's a big party. I
It
love
is.
it. I love it.
And that, of course, they're very Canadian. They're cleaning up really nice.
Yep.
Everything's all nice and neat, and the sidewalks are scraped free of ice. It's good. But Dave said that he used to catch a Korean soap opera set in feudal times on the PBS or something. Yeah, I do believe I remember my wife watching that one actually. But because I read a lot, right?
Mm.
So, and of course, we want to stay near each other. We're not the type that separate ourselves in other parts of the house. I mean, we spend all day
Mm.
apart. We only get a few hours every day to be together. So, we
Mhm.
we kind of stick in the same room, right? And and she'll watch her little dramas and stuff like that, and I'll sit back and I'll read. And then she'll ask me some question regarding the fact that she thinks I'm actually watching it. The good thing is my I
Autism.
guess my autism, my subconscious is listening all the time, which is a problem because
Yeah,
it is
mine doesn't
paying
ever shut
attention.
off either.
Huh?
Like I used to annoy the piss out of like my teachers or like the pastors at our church because I would never actually look at them while they were doing their thing, but I always knew everything they were saying
Yeah,
because it
can't
just
help it.
doesn't shut off.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. It doesn't shut off. But so I know way more than I'd ever want to know about freaking Korean drama, dude. Right? Uh, but she's really into this one. She really is enjoying this one. And like I said, I'm sitting in the room, and this one it is silly high school drama, but it actually has some good uh, tense moments. The acting seems to be fairly good. It's not that bad actually. I'm not gonna knock it.
I'm not gonna knock on Korean acting because I have seen some stuff come out of that place that is just blows me away. It's a
Yeah,
different language and it's still just phenomenal. Whether it be even like some of their movies are unbelievable. The budget, you hear what their budgets are. They're nothing, right, compared to a
right.
Hollywood movie, and they just look spectacular. And I'm like, what in the world is
Yeah,
going on in
that
South Korea? They're coming up when
they
it
are.
comes to
They're
that
doing a
stuff.
good job. That's true. It's I don't like the melodrama of Asia or you know
Yeah.
Central America and stuff like that. I'm not into melodrama, but they are doing a good job. It's true. The unfortunate thing is because of all the years of it, I now understand and can speak Korean, which I never wanted. Right. Well, honestly,
Um,
they're so similar to Japanese, and you can't help but recognize it. And a lot of times, it's kind of like the Romance languages, right? If you
yeah.
speak one of them, you can kind of get by in any of them. It's like that,
Yeah.
right? So and I didn't know that when I lived over in, outside of Asia. I figured that, Japanese and Korean and Chinese were distinct to me, distinctly different. They are not, dude.
Mm.
But of course, now living here and understanding the history, Korea is Japan. It's mainland Japan. Don't tell
Don't
them
tell
that
them
though;
then.
they'll get
Yeah.
upset. But it's the truth. But
Like I
whatever.
like I've said before, I just wait for the day where the Japanese realize that the only people over there who's gonna make sense of that world, that region, is them, and, they get back to business because it could not possibly be worse than China being the ones to take over that region. Couldn't possibly be worse, but we'll see.
I think Brett S is here, and he says Onya Hashameka, gents. I think that was Portuguese. Okay, but so let's move on. Are you ready, dude? Are you ready?
I'm
I'm
ready.
ready because we got some pure high octane nonsense today. Uh,
We got the cancer coming
we
straight on in
we
like
do, dude.
liquid syrup, just right into your
Yes,
veins,
it's true.
coming on
Uh,
in.
Coming right on in, and I'm going to start out with a nice little meme from I think it was Somali, but it's appropriate.
Oh, I guarantee you he does this kind of positive affirmation nonsense to himself. I guarantee
Yeah,
it. There's many things in this world that are uncertain to me. This is not one of them. I would put literally $1,000 on this right now that he does this
I
at
bet
least
you he
twice a
does.
week.
I
At
bet you he
least
does.
twice a week.
Now, I can't remember. This is going back. This is definitely a nostalgic meme here. But is this actually the Dana Carvey time on SNL, or is this Kids in the Hall?
I don't know, to be
It's
honest
not
with
the
you.
clearly it's not the church lady. I think it's Kids in the Hall, dude. I remember this skit, this reoccurring character. I think it was Kids in the Hall. Which if you haven't seen Kids in the Hall, do because
Yeah.
it's freaking hilarious. For damn sure. But yeah, old Justin fled his own country because men were honking truck horns. And you see a little thing there on the camera, on the TV there with the truckers and stuff. And what a fabulous, fabulous thing. And you see in America, Facebook got ahead of it because the Americans were like, "Hey, we should do that too." And you got like 150,000 truckers ready to cross the country doing the same thing, and Facebook banned them immediately.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course. The
yeah.
problem is Facebook isn't the king of the crop as they
No,
anymore as much
no,
as
they're
they used to
not.
be. Well, they still are, but not like they were.
Yeah.
And the last, 5, 6 years here, people have really shifted off of that. Like I got banned on old Twitter again. My account's actually officially suspended now. I can't do anything
Sweet.
with it, but I can look at the feed, but it doesn't actually update, so it's just stuck wherever it was at last time I looked at it. But I can still go to like other people's pages and stuff and look at them. I'm not banned from seeing the site, but I'm banned from doing anything else. But regardless, so I've been using Gab again, and they've exploded since I've been using it last. Like there's
Yeah.
whatever you could ever look for is on there now. It's pretty great. And there's a group of basically the same thing that I would assume it's the same group that has on Gab, which is much smaller than Facebook, obviously,
Uh-huh.
had I think 230,000 members of that. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's still gonna happen. I hope
Oh,
they
I hope
understand.
it
Oh,
does.
you banned our Facebook, so we give up. No,
N-
I don't think it works that
I hope
way.
they get it. I hope they get it going on really quick, and we can have like have a connection between the two. Hey brother, hey bro, that kind of thing, right? That would be great. But I'm being told that was early '90s SNL. Thank you, Grimlock. But yeah, the whole trucker thing is pretty impressive. And it's completely and absolutely peaceful. No matter how much they want to yell and call them Nazis and fascists
Yeah.
and white supremacists, there's none of that going on. It's truly disgusting. I mean, you had mentioned it, and I know Stephen Crowder, who is Canadian, or he was, is absolutely outraged by his fact that because this prime minister here, he said that these people have unacceptable opinions.
Yes. Yes. There's no
That
place for their beliefs in Canada. Is
Yeah,
there's
and
that is some straight up commie talk, sir. That is
uh,
commie talk.
yes, it is. It's
Now,
un.
if these people weren't peaceful and they decided, oh, that's a threat, I couldn't fault them for any actions they took
Mm,
because that sounds like a threat to me. When the leader of the country tells you you have no place here, well, so what are you going to do about it, Justin? You gonna come remove us? You gonna send thugs to take us out? Because that sounds like a threat to me.
Yeah.
And the cops
Yeah.
have tried a couple times to get this to escalate. Now they can pretend, oh, we're just doing. No, no, no. I know what you're doing, you little bitches. You're trying to get them to be violent,
Yeah, they
and
are.
they've resisted every time. And all they've done a couple times is just kind of push, meaning they just got in their trucks and kind of drove towards the cops' line, and the cops retreat because obviously you're not going to win that fight. Um, so I think this is a prelude. I've been saying it for years that this decade is going to be crazy. It's going to pop off this decade.
Yeah,
This is a
unfortunately.
prelude. It'll be depend on how Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Castro, how he handles this because there have been calls for him to call in the military and arrest them all, do things like that. And
Yeah.
okay, that's not going to make this problem go away. I hope you
No, that will
understand
make
that
it worse. You know,
that'll make it infinitely
it
worse for
would, it
him.
would. But I mean, the thing about I'm not worried about violence coming out of them at all. I mean, come on, they're Canadians. They like, oh, sorry, I body checked you, eh? It ain't happening to and that good for them. They shouldn't be. They need to resist, be
Yeah,
actually peaceful, not like these mostly peaceful BLM and Antifa riots where cities are on fire.
yeah,
No actual action because you can't. If you have a liberal view, you can murder people. If you don't, you can't even show up to a public building and you're the worst thing since World War II, right?
yeah.
So
Worse
uh,
than 9/11.
Worse,
Ridiculous.
most certainly worse. But oh, a little Justin, Justin, Justin. He's in hiding somewhere in America, of course, because danger.
Yeah, he's a pussy.
He is a pussy.
See, if he
Anyway,
was a real leader, if he was a real, I could respect him if he was a real leader, and he could have all the security he needs. But if he went and talked to somebody, just went and talked to him, be like, "What's guys? Let's talk." But he won't do that because he knows there's no way to defend his position. There's
well,
absolutely no defense for the bullshit that these mandates and things. There's no defense for it. You can't say, "Well, you have to have a vaccine," when the vaccine doesn't even stop you from getting sick. Like there's
yeah,
no
no,
logical
it's true, but
correlation here at
yeah,
all.
yeah,
And he keeps pushing it and keeps pushing it and refuses against all studies that keep saying not only is the vaccines highly ineffective, or at least highly ineffective against the current variants, but they also say that none of these other measures do anything. Masking doesn't do anything unless you have actual filtration masks. And lockdowns did nothing. They did nothing. They didn't stop anything because we didn't actually lock down. We can't. As they're seeing, you can't because
no,
the
you can't.
the trucks still have to run.
No, that's true, and especially, and that's why it's so it's so troublesome because the truckers move supplies around. But keep in mind, Justin Trudeau is not an actual leader. He's just
No.
another one of those poster childs I was talking about last week, right? He's all he is. He's not real. But and they a lot of them aren't. And the thing is, I hope people are starting to see through the veneer now. That
Yeah.
these people, that so-called politicians, they're not leaders. They're just poster children put up there for you to see and gripe. They
Woo.
want you to be at each other's throats, and that's why they have the dual party
Here's
system and all that kind of stuff.
the question
Huh?
for the truckers, and I think that we should leave it here because this is perfect.
Yeah.
So, GoFundMe tried their bullshit, right? Basically tried to steal their money. Let's be honest, that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
They tried to steal their money because they, of course, are lefties and disagree with anybody ever standing up to the state ever, apparently.
Hmm.
Um, so they try to steal their money. Well, we have two different states, at least that I know of in America, who have opened investigations into GoFundMe now for fraud. That old chestnut, because there was absolutely no cause to try and take these people's money. They're not engaged in illegal activity. Blah 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 blah. But beyond that, the organizers of this decided, okay, well, fine, you whatever. They go over to this other website, Give Send Go, and since they've been open for I think it's 2 days now, they have $3.6 million
Yep.
raised.
Good. Good.
Yeah, almost 3.7,
Yeah.
$3.6 million already, and that's good. That's very good because they're probably going to need it, especially for legal funds. Uh, and it's just good to see GoFundMe get exactly what they deserve because they've deserved it for a while. The stuff that they do, like what they did with Kyle Rittenhouse, they stole his money.
Oh yeah. Of course.
All
Of
sorts of
course.
stuff.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be allowed. In all honesty, that kind of stuff should be completely illegal. They should have absolutely no, zero, goose editorial power when it comes to that. If they want to be a platform, then they shouldn't be allowed to have any for donations. They shouldn't be allowed to have any ability to pull anything without a court order. If a court orders it, okay, fine. But there shouldn't even be allowed to have a TOS when it comes to they can but we can take your money and give it to somebody else. What? What? How is that legal? I can't do that in a retail. I can't walk into Best Buy and be like, all right, I would like to pre-order that right there. He said, okay, well, if it doesn't come out, then we're going to give your money to somebody else. No, no, I want that. No, no. We're not going to give it to somebody else you might not even care about.
Yeah,
You can't
no,
do
of
that.
course. But dude, they're getting away with stuff left and right and breaking rules, and they know there's no accountability, right? Not
Yep.
as of yet. So I'm glad that happened, and it's just exposing more and more and more. And there are some people that pay attention. And are aware of the current politics and stuff, and most people aren't. But I think more and more people are waking up. But let's move on from that, and good luck to you truckers, and thank you very much for what you're doing. That's awesome. But let's move on here. Now, you guys know I like to talk about board games, and I thought today I would just kind of scroll through the Kickstarter because that is the home of board games, and see if
Oh
there's
yeah.
anything interesting here. So this one is interactive, so you can interact with me. We got Thunder Road Vendetta. Now I know Thunder Road came out so many years ago, so this is probably a follow up. And it's already got $633,000, man. 8 days to go. And the first one was a lot of fun. This is basically, and I think it might even be coming out of a Steve Jackson game, but this is basically, Road Warrior, the board game type of thing. And this is like a follow up, it looks like. Yeah, yeah. So it is talking about the old Steve Jackson game. Yep. So you got that one. You got one of these little kind of builder things which become real popular. Let's see here. A book for D&D full of monsters. Oh, I love the creature crucibles. The monster books. Those are fun to collect.
Yeah.
I know nerds. I get it. I get it. Okay. La Granja Deluxe Master Set. Ooh, nice. Very nice. That's an old game. This is the Magic, by the way. This isn't the most current. It's the ones that are doing really well right now, or are popular, or being suggested, or what have you. Let's see if I see anything else interesting here. Ooh, trekking through history. I like those kind of things. Do you like the kind of games that are like trivia question games about history? Do you like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's a really good one, especially for using in schools. It's called Timelines. It's really good.
Mm.
That one's a lot of fun. And yes, I know this is completely different shift from what we were just talking about. This is fun. Take it while you can get it. Now, these elixir dice have become really popular. I don't own a set, and I probably won't, to be honest with you. But what they've done is they figured out a way to make them hollow when they put a solution in there. It's probably like a water solution, and when you roll it, it kind of swirls around, and it has this kind of like the snow globe type of effect inside the dice. It's kind of neat.
Hmm.
Yeah, those
Nice.
things have been going around for quite a while. Ooh, a sexy lady, capes and cloaks and cows and park. Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
that looks
Oh my.
like something I like. They only got 3,000 euros though. Oh goodness. Heroes of Wake Song. Now Wake Song is a RPG that's been around for a while, so it looks like someone got the license or the owners of the license are doing something with it. Okay. Let's see. Jiangnan. Why? Okay. Let's see here. Ooh, that looks neat with the kind of you lay out your board and you move around in a spacey game. Those things to be fun. Let's see here. So this is another campaign for the D&Ders. All right, nice. Oh, look, another quest for Thunderstone. It looks like, or is this Hero Quest? Oh, Dungeon Fighter. Oh, okay. Now, Dungeon Fighter is something you might enjoy. Board games are there's all kinds, and that's
Mhm.
the great thing about board games. This one here, you ever play Quarters?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was actually pretty good at Quarters. I never played beer pong, but it looked similar to me. But I was a pretty good Quarters player. And this is kind of like that. You're kind of rolling dice and you're bouncing stuff off the table to try to get on the target, and you're trying to. It's how you kind of move through the dungeon, right? It's a board game.
Mhm.
It's not a RPG. But so there's another thing coming out for Dungeon Fighter. That's cool, dude. It's a neat little game, and it looks like they've moved it into. They've kind of trying to make it RPG ish. That's neat.
Nice.
Let's see. It's anything else here comes to my eye. Well, why are you having sex with that old man? Stop it. Okay. All right. Evolution, the New World. That was a very popular game that came out. This one, you're playing cards with different creatures, and you're trying to make new creatures, type of thing. It's a nice little game. Some of these games are more, for a bunch of adults around a table, and a lot of them for, family, mixed family with kids and stuff. And that's a great little family game, Evolution. And they have, maybe they've come into the Holocene or something. I don't know what they're doing with it. Soul Mist. Wow, look, they got 60 grand euro, and look at all those books, man. It looks pretty. It's pretty. That's the cool thing about Kickstarter. The production value you can get is way higher than what you get in the store, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the bonuses of it, why I like doing it. But those books look pretty, dude. All right. Let's see. We got some more dice. Ice bit dice baby. Okay. Okay. I would have went ice dice baby. That would have been more appropriate. But you screwed that up. Okay, you screwed that up. Aberrant. Ooh, really? Is that legal? I don't know if that's legal. Okay. Micro dungeons. Oh, I see what it is. It's just like little one-page dungeons for your D&D. Let's see if anything else here. Huh. I don't see anything that's really screaming at me. Let's see if there's anything at the top of the charts here that looks interesting. Popularity. Yeah, let's go. Let's go with that one. So this wombat thing seems to be going pretty popular. We got some bags and totes because you need that shit when you're going around to little conventions and stuff. Sea of Havoc. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't see anything huge though banging right now. I just thought I haven't looked at Kickstarter in a while. I thought I'd come take a look, but I don't see any big banger, which is weird. It's February. I kind of expected to see something, but maybe March will bring something along. Anyway, um, uh, if you enjoy board games and tabletop RPG and stuff like that, go and take it a look on Kickstarter. It's a lot of fun. I mean, this is where the board game world exists, guys. It's on Kickstarter. It's where it is.
Yeah.
And you can see all the new things coming out. You can back some of the stuff if you want. This is the new. What's brandy new? Ooh, yeah, I don't see anything. Maybe by March, because usually around now you start seeing some of the big banger projects coming out, right?
Yeah.
Because you have companies, what we're talking about, multi-million dollar companies that their whole formula is Kickstarter, right? Like
Mhm.
Simon, cum laude or not, they're definitely Kickstarter. Queen has kind of shifted themselves over to that. So there's a lot of really big companies come out with some banger stuff, dude. And some of the production is just absolutely insane. Look at the art there. That's pretty nice, dude. It's pretty nice. I actually
Like I'm
have
set.
I'm probably on the Bugbear's basement. I'm gonna be running a campaign of my own here sooner than later, and I'm probably gonna run it out of wearing the cape, fake core. And of course, that's Mark or Marion, Mr. Harmon, and he's written a series of very, very successful superhero novels, right? And they come out an RPG, but the art they got for that, because I have the book sitting right behind me, actually. It's wow, dude. It's some of the best illustrated comic book illustrated art I've ever seen. It's
Hmm.
stunning, 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 stunning. And I always appreciate it. I'm a guy who likes the art. Some people don't give a shit, but I do. But anyway, I'll move on from this. But I really expected to see a couple of big ones, Thundero, but I don't see anything. I mean, they look
Nothing grabbing.
fun, but I'm talking about the multi-million dollar Kickstarter runs. Those ones.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, cool. and maybe I'll come back in March and take a look at it again. Anyway, let's move on. You ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah. Rumor: Scrubs star Donald Faison to join Legends of Tomorrow as Booster Gold.
That is exactly as it should be.
I just love it
Yeah,
so much because it's so just stupid. It's just dumb.
it is dumb. And now I don't know this guy. He could be a great actor for all I know. I don't know anything about it. Never
He's an
watched
okay
Scrubs.
actor. He's an
Uh,
okay actor.
okay, that's good. But
And he's a goofball, so he might be able to pull off a good Booster Gold, but he's not Booster Gold.
well, no,
He's
correct me if I'm wrong, and I wish I had the booster here. But I kind of had the idea the reason he was called Gold was because he was blonde hair. Isn't that why he's called
ah,
Booster Gold? Or is it
I don't
talking
know.
more about his perfect capability and his stardom, being
I
solid
thought his
gold?
his gear was gold, like the armor or whatever he stole was
Yeah,
gold.
yeah, no, but I didn't. I kind of always thought it was about his blondness, but I don't know. I really don't. Don't think I've ever read a Booster Gold book. Uh, but whatever. You know,
Booster Pyrite, I like that. I
and
like that.
Booster Pyrite's smart. Brett's quick and witty. That's neat. But
Pyrite is a great that it's a shame that it's Fool's Gold
yeah.
because that's a great name for a superhero.
It would be,
Pyrite.
dude. And
Yeah,
of course I can fix it. You want to hear me fix it, right?
let's hear it.
Uh put an E in between the R and the I. Yeah.
I like it.
Pyrite. Yeah.
I
Solved.
like it.
Solved. Yeah. But anyway, I don't really care about this. I mean, it's whatever. People are either going to watch it or not. I haven't watched that thing of tomorrow, whatever it is, because I watched an episode and it was dog shit. I mean,
It is.
hardcore
It's
dog shit,
terrible.
dude.
Terrible.
So I don't really care. If this guy's a good actor, rock on. Of course, it's just another gender, well, not maybe not a gender one, but a racial swap. But no, good luck to you, dude. Hopefully, he's at least a good actor. That's about all
He
I can
is.
say about it.
He's a pretty good actor. I think he'll probably do fine. It's just come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah,
So dumb.
yeah, yeah. No, I put this up for our boy Booster because this is exactly what he dreams of. Because I do recall a couple times we were kind of complaining about some big named people getting race swapped. I mean, the little background stuff like Nick Fury being Samuel Jackson, I kind of prefer the change to be honest with you. But some of your frontline characters, it's like, really, you want to do that? And Booster always so we were stupid for having that opinion. He don't give a shit about race swaps. I was like, is that true? Yeah, how about now? How about now, baby? Is this all you?
Well, he does to some degree. He doesn't. It doesn't bother him as much as long as it's good. And I'm actually. It doesn't really bother me as much as long as it's good, depending on what it is. Like you're race swapping Tolkien stuff. Yeah, that's ridiculous. You're race swapping Superman. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But you're race swapping Booster. Okay. You
Yeah,
race swap Nick
yeah,
Fury. Okay.
that's kind of
Like
how I am. He's a background character
yeah.
that isn't well
Nick
known.
Fury, especially that, I think that just works.
That
It
works
mainly just because
really
Sam
well
Jackson is Sam
because
Jackson,
Sam Jackson's
but
badass. That's why.
yeah,
But maybe this guy, man, I can just see it instead of the classic Booster Gold. We get the yo 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 bitches, Booster Gold in the house.
no,
I can be
he's
all
not.
about that. I got the
No, no, no.
nuggets in the teeth. Got the nuggets in the. I can see
Oh
it, dude.
God, they could give him a grill, couldn't they?
They could,
Oh
dude. They
no, that's where the
should
gold comes from.
grill him
Oh
out,
no.
bling him out, have him his pants hanging down around his ankles. Perfect.
Oh God, don't give him ideas. Just don't.
I can see it as a rapper's name. Yeah, I'm Booster Gold, yo. Okay.
Oh Lordy,
Of course, when I rap, I sound like John Cena. Oh well.
so terribly. Got it.
So yes, yes, yes. Thank you. I'm sure I could do it if I actually gave a shit and tried. I'm sure I could actually. I actually do have a command of the English language, so I maybe, and I am
Maybe.
rhythmic. Anyway, there you go. New Booster Gold. Rock on. Sweet. This is one of your favorite humans, and the thing is, you agree with him.
Yes. Yes, I do agree with him. Ron Perlman advocates for secession. Now, let's be clear. Secession is the wrong word. He's not advocating for a secession technically. He's advocating for us to separate.
Yeah.
A secession would be like what happened in the Civil War, where states left and made their own thing, which is technically what would happen, but it wasn't consensual. This would be consensual. So it would be completely, it would just be a separation. Separation's a better word for it. A divorce. Literally a divorce. But it's still basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a semantic argument. But still, yeah, no, I agree with him. I agree with anybody who has this opinion. I think it's the correct opinion. I don't think that lefties should be given whole states because that's ridiculous. They don't
Oh,
control
let
whole
them
states,
burn,
they
dude.
control cities.
Yeah.
Uh, but if I have to grant them certain states to get rid of them, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because the only other option to get rid of these psychos out of our lives is to kill them. That's it. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what else.
Yeah.
I don't know what people think's gonna happen here. They think they're gonna wake. They're gonna get through to them, and they're gonna no. They're communists. They're not gonna change their mind. They're so devout in their god of communism. They've killed hundreds of millions of people in the last 100 years.
They have.
They don't
It's
just
true.
up and give up. They're not just like we tried.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
well.
you know the thing here with Mr. Piss Hands is that this is coming out. This is, of course, he was showing a picture of him from the San Diego Comic Con, but I think he's I thought it was no, I was wrong. Okay, but here's the tweet, and he says it's time that every state they would elect that would I think he misprinted there that would elect Republicans to represent them, and all the rest of us separate. You don't want to live in my world, and I certainly don't want to live in yours. Okay, dude.
Amen.
Amen.
Correct.
Amen.
Absolutely. I want to live in a world where men and women know what they are and they know which bathrooms to piss in.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable desire, and that's where I'd like to live. I don't want to live in the weird world that your people have created,
Well,
because it's madness, that world.
the weird thing about it though is how everyone gets thrown in the same basket from these points of view because, I certainly don't agree with progressives, but there's
Yeah.
plenty of Democrats, liberal Democrats that I don't have a problem with their opinion whatsoever, right? Like
No.
say let's take a famous one that fits into his categories there, Dave Rubin, right?
Yep.
Now, Dave Rubin's a smart fella. He's without question a liberal, right? And
Hmm.
I don't agree with everything he says, but we could easily get along. I could have a beer with Dave Rubin.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
You know?
he's so what's the word I'm looking for? Milk toast. Like
Yeah, he is
he's
milk
one of those
toast,
dudes
but
anybody could get along with. I don't necessarily mean that as an insult. He's just very fluid, and he can get it. He can have a conversation with just about anybody.
sure. Well, it's like,
I'm kind of the same way, to be honest. When
yeah,
like in person, I can get along with just about anybody, even if I disagree with them. It's when you get people who are liars. I just
oh
can't
yeah, yeah,
abide somebody
yeah.
lying to my face.
And
Like,
that's the point I'm trying to make. Another very famous, well-known classical liberal, Joe Rogan.
yeah.
This dude's not a
Oh,
conservative.
poor
What are you
Joe.
talking about? He's a liberal. He's
Poor
absolutely
Joe.
old school, 80s liberal.
Yeah.
And I could easily sit down and have a chat with Joe Rogan.
The
Uh,
problem with liberals, in all honesty, not just memeing on them, is they don't understand that their ideology created Marxism. That it was a direct result of their argumentations for egalitarianism that
mhm,
created equity movements and
yeah,
communism.
yeah. Well, dude,
And they don't understand that you can't divorce that. There's no way to divorce it. Eventually, the logical conclusion of egalitarianism is communism.
yeah, no,
Or
it's true.
you can take a rational approach and be like, egalitarianism's wrong. We're not all equal. So we shouldn't all necessarily be treated equally. However, that doesn't mean anyone should be treated negatively just
Right.
because.
Yeah.
That
Well,
we have to reassess what the classical liberals what they really wanted, because they clearly didn't want this. Like,
well,
if they were around today, they would be in just apoplexia. They'd be so appalled at what their ideology turned into. But
yeah.
I think ones like Thomas Jefferson and Franklin would have the intellectual integrity to realize that it was it's derivative of what they believed, and there's a way to fix it.
Right.
But that's a totally different topic for a different day. But that's the only problem I have with liberals is when they don't have the contrition to understand that it's their ideology that led us to this place. Now, Marxism is obviously far more culpable, but we're just going to have Marxism again if we don't deal with this lie of equality.
No,
We
yeah,
have to get it out of our system. Just get it gone. Bury it, kill it, burn it with fire. It's a false god, and we have to stop following it because we're not equal. Like Thomas Sowell says, I'm not equal from the time I wake up to the afternoon. I'm a totally different man sometimes. You know, sometimes I wake up, I'm feeling good, I'm doing what I need to do, and then by 5 o'clock I'm out. And then other times it's the other way. And nobody is, right? So this notion of equality, it's a lie. We're not there's no equality. The only I say it all the time. The only equality is the grave. The only equality we have is we're all going to die.
that's
That's it.
true. Or Santa Claus.
Yeah. Santa well, now Santa now sometimes he's a right bastard and just gives you coal.
Yeah, it's true.
You might have
Or
deserved it, but you still gives
it's
you
true.
coal.
He might sick Krampus on your ass too, so watch it. But just keep in mind that in the early 30s, when the Nationalist Socialist, German party there,
Yep.
when they were putting together their ideology, of course they grabbed fascism from the Italians,
Yep.
and of course that this was just another form of Marxist theory. But
Mhm.
the vast majority of their structure, when they put it together, was based upon the American Democratic Party.
Yep.
Just keep that in mind. And matter of fact, there were certain ideals that the Democrats held at that time that the Germans thought, well, that's a bit too far.
Yeah, so maybe a little
No,
much, don't you think?
seriously, I'm not joking at all.
No, I'm saying
So
that's what they were saying. How about
yeah, yeah,
maybe pull it back, guys?
that's a little bit too much. But I love this one. Oh yeah, he's a Republican, all right. Well, no, he's not. He's a liberal.
Yeah.
Old Trumpy was not a conservative at all. I used to think this was true. Then I got to see his true heart. Racism, when? White supremacy, when? Did more for minorities in America than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
And a lot
Cares
more than Ron Perlman ever
a
did.
lot
That's for
more.
sure.
Cares only for those who are rich. That's probably true. Amoral, fine. Unethical, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Sexual
well, if he's
predator.
amoral, of course he's unethical. That's you're just being redundant now, Ron. What are you doing? Like you
Uh,
can't
you
be
know,
one and not the other.
Sexual predator. I don't know about that. I mean, he's amoral and therefore the sex aspect, but predator. When?
Yeah.
When?
He's been accused, but never credibly.
Yeah. Deadbeat. Are you out your freaking mind? That's one of the hardest working humans I've ever seen in my life. And dude,
Yeah.
I work a lot harder than Ron Perlman, and I put money on that,
Yeah.
right? I am an absolute hard worker, and Trump makes me dizzy. I mean,
Yeah.
what is this
Trump's
deadbeat? Are you not paying attention, Mr. Perlman? Would rape and pillage the planet. Okay.
here's all you honestly as far as Trump's character as a man, aside from him as a president, which I have some problems there, but as a man, the best way to judge his character is by his fruits. The fruits of his character are his children. And by and large, they're all wonderful human beings. Like genuinely decent human beings who seem to be compassionate, kind, and hardworking people. From I haven't you don't hear about great big scandals coming out of them, right? Like they're not Hunter Biden out here blow off of hookers' asses and filming it and shit like that. Like they might be doing that stuff, but there's no evidence of it.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I have no problem with that, right? If it's consenting adults, and you're doing blow off a hooker's ass, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't
I
either.
I don't want you to be I don't want you to be in charge of anything probably, but I'm not gonna judge you on that. I mean,
No,
that's
I agree.
fine.
No, I don't personally care. I've always said I think drugs and hookers should be legal and regulated, because there's just no moral argument and no real good legal argument either for why the state should be able to tell you you can't. But that doesn't mean we should encourage that
Yeah,
behavior in any way.
yeah,
Um, however, there are people who disagree, and there's a lot of them. So when there's the president's son is engaged in these activities, or other very illicit things, then that becomes a problem
Yeah,
politically.
Reagan
And
had a
so
problem,
far,
Carter had a problem.
so the only one who didn't so far is Trump. His kids haven't really done anything, but maybe they said the wrong thing according to the media, right?
yeah,
Or they had a meeting with some random spy that they didn't know was a spy,
yeah.
and they, oh, this is a big deal, and literally nothing happened. He walked in,
Well,
what do you want to tell me? Oh, never mind, and just left. That was the
well,
meeting.
yeah. The interesting thing in that regard is if you look at all our presidents, all of them had trouble with their some member of their family or their
Yeah,
kids. There was kind of a they didn't want it to be in the public very much,
yeah.
and of course we won't get into Clinton and or Bush and his absolutely oh my God well, let's not get into it. However, um, Trump's kids love him, dude.
Yeah,
They love him to death. And that
exactly.
that's gotta tell you something, dude. You gotta
Yeah.
pay attention.
Now
These
that being
kids
said,
love him, man.
as a president, I do have some qualms with old Donnie,
Oh,
but
sure,
even still, even with my qualms, he's still the best president of my lifetime, and that's
easily.
not really that big of an endorsement of the guy. It's more of a condemnation of the others, but still, I'll take that over what we had any day
Well,
of the week,
he was doing
and
the
I'll
actual
definitely
job.
take it over the nonsense that's in our White House right now. My
Oh,
God.
it is a trash fire. But old Sarah Silverman agrees. We should break up. I don't see a
Yeah.
lot of disagreement here.
No, there's not. Mm-mm.
And this is interesting, Roger. You say this because you got to keep in mind every time a celebrity type individual gets into politics, Hollywood always piles on. There's
Yeah.
some kind of Freudism going on here, right? Because it's like you're one of us. You can't do that. They
Right.
seem to
Right.
react. Ronald Reagan got the same shit. Keep in mind, and he was a fairly efficient president, right?
Hmm.
But he got the same crap. It was almost like a mirror, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Now we didn't have social media like we do now, but they had the same kind of stuff, dude. They were just Hollywood's railing the hell out of them, right? They don't
Yeah.
like it when one of their own gets into politics for some reason. I don't understand what it is, but there's something going on there. Yeah. Anyway,
It's
let's move
interesting.
on. Old Mr. Piss Hands here, which is a real shame. I mean, uh, Elvira came out and said something dumb recently. Dwayne the Rock was forced to say something stupid recently. I really wish they shut up because old Ron here, he's really got TDS bad.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I love him in Hellboy. I loved him in Sons of Anarchy. He's a fun actor, dude.
Yeah.
What a
He's a
shame.
But Trump just broke these people, man. I
He
don't know
did.
how else to put it, and he didn't really even do anything to him. There's people out there who genuinely think he was an evil dictator.
Yeah.
An evil dictator who should be executed publicly.
Right.
Genuinely, they believe this because he was just so terrible. And I just look at his record and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. I'm not
No.
like that.
And to be honest, he's one of the most transparent presidents of my lifetime.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
he couldn't brush his hair to the side without the media making a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
The dude had 2 scoops of ice cream and it was on prime time on CNN for 3 hours. They talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm not making that up. That
No, I
happened.
remember. Yeah, but the thing is like, well, he's the president. He should get 2 scoops. I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
that. Do you have a problem with the
he's a
president
billionaire.
getting
He
2
could buy a
scoops?
fucking ice cream company if he wants.
Yeah, that's true. Matter of fact, that would have been the play. Go and buy Ben and Jerry's. Shut that shit down, dude. That would have been funny as hell. And seeing as he is a meme lord, I wonder if he thought about that. That might have. I bet it came across his head. I think I'll just go buy Ben and Jerry's. Shut him up. But anyway, I'm moving on from this. But okay, Mr. Perlman. All right, and now this is a bit of a blast from the past here. Some of you aren't going to recognize this person, but that's all right.
Oh, Ali Sheedy. Ali Sheedy says she was, quote, uncomfortable with her Breakfast Club makeover.
Okay. Now, this is another in the long
Uncomfortable?
list of female actresses coming out decades after the fact saying that they felt sexually uncomfortable or inappropriate use of what have you. Now, you see what she's wearing. Is there anything wrong with this picture at all? This is conservative for the 80s, by the way,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Now, what she's complaining about in here is the same thing Scarlett Johansson was complaining about. They tell me dress too sexy, which is funny because the only reason Scarlett Johansson has a career is because of your tits and ass. Sorry,
Yeah.
baby. But Allie here, which I wasn't really a big fan of all that kind of stuff that was going on with Breakfast Club and Sweet 16 or 16 Candles, and stuff like that. But this is my generation. But basically, what happened is she was kind of like this. She's calling it tomboy. I just call it kind of early goth, right? Early grunge
Mhm.
look here, from the mid '80s. And during the course of they're basically in detention, and a group of detention kids become friends. That's the story. Breakfast Club finished. All right.
Yeah.
She gets a makeover because there's a guy she likes, and she ends up looking like this.
I
Okay.
mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, you just put a little bit of makeup on her as a goth, and she looked fine.
Yeah, she would, and
I'm
she
surprised.
says she didn't think it was appropriate to do this to the character because she thinks she looked hotter this way. I could not disagree more, Miss Sheedy.
Yeah.
This at that time in America was smoking, dude. You know how many boys? Because this intentionally was to make her look undesirable at that
Yeah.
time culturally, and this right here is like every boy in America is like in love, right? But she thinks it's inappropriate because this it's femmed her up, and she thinks that they should have left the character like this, which completely missed the point of the character. Now, do you think she really is this delusional and doesn't understand that if they hadn't have done this, the character would not have resonated, and probably the movie wouldn't have been successful?
Oh,
Uh,
she knows full well,
yeah,
but she has to play her role.
right.
It's silliness because the reason why that they're supposed to say these sorts of things now is because you see, we can't shame women ever for anything, no matter unless of course they're Republicans. Then you can do whatever the hell you want to them.
That's true.
But you can't shame a woman who isn't one. No, just a normal everyday woman for pretty much anything anymore, especially when it comes to appearance. So we can't have any sorts of standards, you see. So what we have to tell these women is that they're perfectly fine the way they are. They don't ever need to change for a man, ever, ever. And to even suggest it or even think it is some form of heresy, and you should probably be burned at the stake. To the point where we have morbidly obese women on the cover of fitness magazines declaring that they're healthy.
Yeah, which, whatever. I could give a shit about that. That's their delusion. No one believes it. And I don't care how much the noise they make because no one's listening. However, here's another one. This Olsen girl. She's like, I felt really uncomfortable. I was like the only one with my boobs out. Well, cause you got them, baby. I mean, you ain't got the acting chops. So what do you got to rely on here? A little bit of cleavage. I mean, it's making you money. So stop bitching about it. But she's got a problem with the fact that she had cleavage in this scene, by the way.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
I know, that's what I know.
I sit her down. We turn everything off. Just me and her have a conversation. I'd be like, Liz, sweetheart, you don't care that your boobies were out. Stop it.
No, you don't.
Stop being dumb.
Um,
You like the attention. You like it when hot men look at your cleavage.
yeah, I
I
know.
know you do because you're a human female.
Yep,
Simple as that. That's
yep,
all you need.
yep. And Tessa Thompson also was complaining, which I don't know why, because she's not
oh,
attractive at all.
oh,
She
God.
is a lesbian in real life, and it's like,
Good.
I kind of knew
Good.
that. Didn't you know that?
We're okay with
We
that.
all
Yeah,
kind of figured it.
it's all
Uh,
yours, guys. That's fine.
yeah, so, and I
Now
don't
that
know.
girl. Woo
She is
wee.
pretty. I don't know what she's got because she got down into her underwear scene. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once
Yep.
again, you are nobody. The only reason why anyone remembers you. Okay, fine.
Oh no, she wasn't complaining. I think this isn't here because she did the opposite. She's very proud of that scene. She did everything she could to facilitate it, including obviously kept herself in insane shape. She voluntarily
Oh
worked
yeah,
with a
she
trainer
says
for it, but yeah.
she worked hard to for
So
that
she
scene
doesn't
to
get to
look
work in
good.
Hollywood.
Well,
Got to get rid
dude,
of her.
I have to tell you, that's the kind of body I like right
But
there.
I mean, that's it. Anybody who does it needs to get their eyes checked.
Well,
Claps
dude,
for
if you
that.
haven't noticed the trend of the she's got back that's been going on for quite a while, I don't get it. I don't like fat ass girls. I
Oh,
actually
see,
kind
I
of
like
made
it all.
Well, no. I made this comment. I don't know, a couple few decades ago, and there was some fat ass girl, and the dude was like, "Oh, come on, man, everybody likes fat ass girls." I was like, "No, not at all. That's what I like. I like athletic ass girls.
I
I
think
don't need some
I think
big
she
bubble
still has
butt
some
girl."
booty on her though. She still got some nice, just
Yeah, but
enough.
I'm not talking about an athletic, large Pilates butt. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the big old flabby, fat,
I love it. I love all of it.
liquid asses like the Kardashian there, right?
I like it to jiggle and I like it to be firm.
No,
I like it so you can bounce
no,
quarters off of it.
you're
Boop,
definitely wrong.
boop,
This is
boop.
better. This is better.
No,
And you go,
see,
girl.
you know what's even better than that? Both. And I've
No,
seen that.
God, no.
I've seen ladies who are built like that from the front, and they turn around, and you're like, "Oh,
No, I
hello."
don't. I do not like it. I do not
Oh, I
like it
love it.
at
What's
all.
the white man in you? You like your skinny little rail model deals. I
No,
don't.
I like
I like
this.
women to have meat on them.
You think this is a rail?
No, she's not.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what her backside looks like. She could be bored straight back there. But in the front she looks pretty damn amazing.
She looked great, and she is memorable from that. Actually, she wasn't bad in that movie.
It was
That
everything else the problem.
well, those movies are a train wreck, dude. All of them are. We're going to get to that in a minute because I actually have an article in regards. You know how I set things up, right? Yeah, now this is kind of what I like, and my wife does this kind of thing. My wife keeps herself in this kind of shape, and I
Yep,
appreciate that. I mean, especially
yep.
God, she's like, I'm not going to give her age, but it's my age, and yeah, good on her, dude. Anyway, I'm glad at least there's one sensible lady in here, because these are lying. You're lying. And Tessa Thompson, please take it away. And I'm thank God, just probably Trent for not putting a Tessa Thompson sexy picture in here. I appreciate you, Trent. No, this is of course it's Bukale. He's respectful and he's good with his grammar. So.
Yes.
But anyway, moving on, dude. But Ali Sheedy, no one has thought of you literally in 30 years. I guess she needs a little bit of attention, I suppose. Anyway, speaking of that tie-in,
Paramount reportedly working on new Star Trek Starfleet Academy series. Section 31 still in development. Oh, I
now,
have never wanted a franchise to die more than I do Star Trek.
well, and that's my question I got here. Oh, Captain Canada is ringing in. I have to pay attention now.
Uh-oh.
Yes, Grimlock, don't you judge me. Captain Canada says these women are getting older and don't want to be replaced by the next young hot women. Well, tough luck, huh, Captain Canada? Yeah, no. The reason I put this up here, of course, connecting to the previous story, but uh, name something that Paramount has done with the modern. Kelvin timeline, the JJ timeline, that has actually worked, that has been successful. Name me one.
Literally, literally, only that scene of her in her underwear. And
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean,
even trying to be funny. That's the only good thing that came out of any of those movies, that came out of any of these shows.
yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, they've been complete failures. People don't like it. They're not watching it, and they just get more and more woke. And I don't understand what Paramount is doing. Paramount is already sitting on the precipice of not existing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right?
I
Because
know.
this is just more of your nonsense. No one wants it, dude. No one wants your
Does
nonsense.
Paramount own themselves or does somebody own them? One of the bigger guys own them. CBS own
CBS
them?
owns them, yes.
Yeah.
CBS.
That's probably all it is. CBS is paying the bills, so they're just
It doesn't matter, maybe.
kind of like Marvel
Yeah.
Comics, right? Disney's paying the bills, so they just do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, they it's been a real train wreck, and for a person who loves Star Trek like myself, it's quite the disappointment, dude. Because I'd love to see some fun Star Trek. And when JJ came out with his movies, although the third one was at least watchable, it wasn't great, but it was watchable. It just and these shows, it's a complete, once again, lack of understanding of the source material. You
Yeah.
don't get it. Kirk is not a wild card rebel guy who always breaks the rules and is not a real captain. That's not who he is. He's actually an amazing captain for what they're doing. He is
Yeah,
very reasonable. He does always make the right choice and the right sacrifice. He's just got a little action edge to him because they are out in front doing something that humans haven't done before. They're literally on the frontier. Whereas by the time the next generation came along, they needed a captain who was just a full on captain on ship. And Picard was perfect for that, right? Which is why
yeah,
the guy who played Archer, I can't remember Bakula. He was perfect for the Enterprise series because that was truly new territory for humanity. They just it completely lacks an understanding of what it is with the crap that they're doing. I mean, you know, Spock being calm and not showing emotion is a major part of his character because it's something he struggles with.
correct.
And
Spock is literally, and Vulcans in general, whether this was intentional or not, probably not, but it works out, are literally the actual the phrase that Jesus of old Jesus H. Christ, the meek shall inherit the earth.
yeah,
Meek does not mean feckless or weak
no,
or incapable of doing great violence or great harm or causing harm. Meek means they can do all of that, they just don't. That's what Spock is. Spock has all of that. He has all that rage, all that emotion, all that power, and he controls it. He keeps it under discipline. And
yeah,
pretty much all Vulcans.
and they
And
completely
that's
missed it.
completely missed the point of the character when the way he behaves. He's completely emotional pretty much the whole damn movie. Now I get it. Yeah, his planet was just destroyed. Okay, but you never really had like a comeuppance moment for that. Not really. And that's a big problem, I think. And
Yeah,
they
no,
just didn't understand the cerebral nature of those shows, even the original series, and especially the original series of movies. Kirk was not a cowboy in those movies.
no,
He was absolutely a smart captain who figured out problems and led his people where they needed to be. Um, they obviously don't understand the appeal of the next generation era, which was a much more mature way of storytelling, of dealing with moral issues and moral
right,
quandaries. And most of the stories were moral based, at least, especially next generation. They had a moral to the story. Deep Space Nine was much more was deeper than that. It still had played with moral philosophical things, but it had a much bigger story, much more overarching storyline.
yeah,
Uh,
and it was
and
a
then
perfect
I didn't really
evolution,
get
by
into
the way.
Enterprise. Yes, I didn't get into Enterprise personally. The like I've said on here, the main thing that drove me away was that damn theme song. I heard it, I shut it off. I said, I don't know what they're
Yeah,
making, but it ain't
well,
Star Trek.
yeah, I
And
liked
then
it
I
quite a
went
bit.
back and watched it later, and it's okay. And I do like Bakula. I think Bakula's great, but they started to lose their way right around that time, I think, and they've never recovered. They've never recovered with it. It's just not Star Trek anymore.
No,
Star Trek was supposed to be smart. It was supposed to be smart TV with good writers who were trying to make a point. Now it's just a bunch of petty, vindictive children who couldn't make an honest, coherent point if literally you had a gun to their head.
yeah,
They're just it's not worth watching, it's not worth your time.
nope.
Don't invest time in it or care in it unless you're just doing it to mock it because it's just not worth any kind of serious consideration anymore. And when I said this is the only franchise I really wish would die, I meant it just
Oh no,
because
I
it
mean it too.
deserves so much better than
It's
what it's got for the
insulting.
last decade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Zachary Quinto could have been a perfect Spock, by the way. He could have
absolutely.
been. Yeah. But nonsense people completely don't understand Star Trek whatsoever. And all the anger and the corruption and all this nonsense. Once again, Roddenberry created this with the very simple concept: humanity has evolved,
Yeah,
and Earth is a utopia. And the
right.
Star Trek is not about utopian problems, meaning, Earth itself. It's about dealing with the greater universe that hasn't got there yet. That's the whole point of Roddenberry's vision. But what did these people do? They turned it into modern day corruption, filth, disgusting politics, all the kind of nonsense that's going on. You don't get what Roddenberry. If he must be turning in his grave. He must be.
Absolutely.
But whatever.
Well,
No
because
one's
these
going to
people
watch this shit.
genuinely think that it was a political message, right? He was trying to promote some political ideology. And whether or not Roddenberry was X, Y, or Z politically, he wasn't doing that. That
No.
wasn't the point. The point was that everything is supposed to, where humanity's supposed to be beyond all of that
Right.
stuff.
Well, what he was doing was examining the human condition,
Yes.
as many science fiction writers do.
Yep.
Right.
And instead of taking it to a dark place, he took it to a hopeful place,
He did.
which at the time we had a lot of dark,
We
a lot
did.
of dark future stuff, a lot of, sci-fi wasn't really a fun genre. It was often a horror genre
It
in the
was.
60s.
Yes, it was.
And it became a much more hopeful and enthusiastic, or at least it was helped along that path by Roddenberry.
Yeah, and I'd say it reached its zenith with Alien in the '80s, dude.
You think
Uh, uh,
sci-fi did?
Sci-fi horror. Yeah,
Sci-fi
I mean
horror, yeah.
it
Oh,
was
yeah,
that's
I'd agree, yeah.
the perfect amalgamation of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, no one's gonna watch your crap, dude. You idiots don't get it. You're just stupid.
No.
Anyway, coming on to your girl here. Go ahead. There's some
My
cleavage for
girl
you.
Gina, look at her. Look at her with those big old boobies. Gina Carano rebukes the media lies about her. Have journalists completely given up on research? Before I was
Yes.
banned on old Twitter machine, I saw this and I think I liked it. It was one of the last things I liked was her tweet.
Yeah, and she
Where
yes,
she
yes.
very clearly said I wasn't comparing what conservatives were going through with the Holocaust. I was making a point about what happens when you just let the government divide us like this, or something to that effect.
Yeah, no, of course she
And
was.
she's
Everybody with a brain
completely
know
right.
that. Yeah, there
Yes,
was nothing wrong with that tweet whatsoever. She's basically
exactly.
make a kind of a cautionary tale saying, "You know what?
Yes,
If we don't watch it, we're going to end up with the same problem." That's
yes.
exactly what she was saying. Everybody with a brain knew this,
Oh,
and you get idiots still going on and on and on about it.
didn't know that.
Outrageous. There's your little bit of side boob for you. You know, for you,
Oh, yeah.
just for you.
Don't mind it.
But it's just on and 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 on.
Yeah,
Oh, the
even
Asian
you
one's
have
kind of
to
cute.
admit, Gina has a nice smile.
Oh, she is. I think she's a nice lady. I could sit down and have a chat with her. I think she'd be great.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she's just not my type, dude. Now the one on the right, however, hmm,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I wouldn't kick any of that out of bed. So,
well, the one on the left, no, no, thank you whatsoever. I'd take Gina over that
she
any day.
looks like she probably gives some head. Maybe,
Maybe,
maybe in the mouth.
as if that's important.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, okay, fine. Leave it on the side boob here. But the thing with it is, we just mentioned the big controversy, right? The fact that
Yep.
she compared the modern trajectory to what happened in Germany, and we should be cautious. That's it. That's
All she was doing.
in a nutshell.
Yep.
And this has been going on and on and on and on and on. And look at the absolute state of it today. Go ahead, dude.
North Carolina congressional candidate says Gina Carano, quote, should be in prison.
Mm,
In prison
yeah,
for a meme. That's where we're at in America now. We've been mocking for the last decade or so Europe and places like that that'll jail people for memes.
yeah,
Well, here we are.
yeah.
We have congressional candidates, I'm assuming relatively serious ones, saying that Miss Carano should be jailed for posting a meme. And yet then we have people on the other side who claim to be opposed to these people who still give genuflection to Whoopi Goldberg. And I don't understand that level of cuckery. How much more do you have to see from these absolute monsters before you realize what you're dealing with? You're not dealing with people anymore. You're dealing with rabid wolves who will, as soon as they have even a crumb of power, are going to abuse it to hurt you. That's it. You cannot permit them anything because
Yeah.
they're going to do nonsense like this.
Well, I mean, I want to take a look at this tweet if you don't mind here. Mark Judson for Congress, Scorched Earth Dem 2022. Interesting. Gina Carano got fired. Good. Okay. She pushed the big lie in quotation marks. She should be in prison, not in movies. What is the big lie? Can you explain that to me?
According to Democrats and their operatives, the big lie is suggesting that the election was in any way not legitimate.
Didn't she say
It
that
could be
before that though?
probably. It could be. I mean, they haven't been very specific because you know these kind of people never are. You could simply just say, well, there was some fraud, which is perfectly valid because every election has some fraud.
Well, we
But
know
to
there
them,
was
that's
some, yeah.
there's none. We can't even. It was the most secure election ever.
Uh-huh.
Point blank. Period. You can't question how the fact that five, six states all at once or within 20 minutes of each other all stopped counting, even though they said they were all going to count through the night so they get the count done. And then a couple of them took 3 or 4 extra days to finish the count that they said they were
Or
almost done
more.
doing. You can't question the fact that even after they all said that they were going to stop counting, they all resumed within like a half hour without returning the observers to observe the count. You can't question why on video somebody in, I believe it was Georgia, pulled ballots out from under a table when no one was looking. That's all fine. You can't question these things. These are just 3 examples. There's hundreds more
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
very
No.
questionable shit
The
that was happening.
clearly shenanigans were happening. And
But
Brett,
you
I
can't you're not
agree,
allowed,
by the way,
Chester, because
Brett.
that's the big lie. You see, it's a lie
So
if
that's
you
the
even
lie.
question it.
I
Yeah,
don't think her tweet that got her in trouble had anything to do with
anything.
political parties whatsoever.
No.
It didn't. I've read it, and it's just simply not what the fact. So you're full of shit. If Republicans now, why did he spell it with a Q? Any idea?
Because of the QAnon
Oh,
thing. That's the thing
QAnons.
that
Oh,
some of
I
these
get it.
we call
Okay.
these people blue anons. They're just as bad as the QAnon idiots.
Yeah.
But and I shouldn't say idiots because a lot of those are actually good people. They just got taken for a ride.
I like a
Um,
good conspiracy theory as much as the next guy, though.
of course. But these people genuinely believed it, and it was difficult when you knew some of these people because you try to tell them like, it's a little sketchy, bud. Maybe you should not put all your
Yeah.
eggs in this basket. But they just kept believing it. So,
Well, that's fine.
and some of them like I know people who knew people who are really good-hearted people, honest, hardworking people who got suckered by it, and it was easy to get suckered by if you didn't actually look deeper into it. But the opposite side of them is the blue anon folks, the people who genuinely think nonsense like this, who genuinely think Trump colluded with Russia, who genuinely think Russia cost Hillary Clinton the 2016 election
Wow.
when all they did is spend like $100,000 on some Facebook
Not
ads.
even
If you
a
think it
few
was that
thousand.
easy, yeah, if you think it was that easy to topple Hillary Clinton's election, then thank God she wasn't elected. Holy
Right.
crap, what a
Right.
weak president that would have been.
It's true. Well, let me continue reading this because this is beyond spicy, by the way. They might Google if Republicans weren't too lazy to read, they might Google the definition of seditious conspiracy or just sedition in general. Uh, I think someone needs to go and have a sit down and with old Mark here and give him a hug, because in no way in any kind of logical concept, could you read that tweet from Gina Carano and the word sedition come into your mind? Matter of
No,
fact, what she's doing is warning of such things.
correct.
Is this guy for real? You think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. These people are not people. They're rabid wolves, just desperate to get the ability to hurt people that they have perceived as the enemy,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah,
don't have the physical ability to do it. Obviously,
yeah,
right? I mean, look at them, but they absolutely could get the political ability to do it because enough people like them could bolster them into that position. And until the people who have the physical ability to just say no, these sorts of monsters are going to keep snarling for that power.
yeah, yeah. No, that's true. And of course, the hypocrisy here with Gina and of course Whoopi. Once again, I don't think either one of them should be fired for saying something. Whoopi
Right.
has a right to say what she says, and honestly, I don't know what the big shock is. If you even watch a single excerpt from the View, you know right well those ladies are absolutely inane and moronic. They have no
No,
brain between them. They're not
no, they're
intelligent
really stupid.
humans.
Really
They're really
stupid.
dumb.
My
So
only,
are
I
you
in a
surprised she
perfect
said
world.
something dumb?
Oh, of course not. In a perfect world, I mean, she changed her name to Goldberg so that she could fit in with Hollywood better.
Yeah.
That's why she did it, because she knows the people who are the producers of pretty much everything in Hollywood have names similar. That's just it's as nice as I'll be about it. So that's why she did it. That's why she became Whoopi Goldberg. But regardless of that, on a level playing field where Gina and Roseanne and others aren't, have their lives ruined over harmlessness, over nonsense on social media,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
You
We're
know,
not
I
on
agree.
that place.
Yeah.
We're not in that place anymore. So Whoopi's scalp should have been taken. Period. And the right should have pushed for it hard and kept pushing
Nah.
it hard. And they should have done things like threaten the company if they didn't take her off
Well,
the air. I mean, legally threaten, because that's what they were
well,
doing to Gina.
the problem with the right is this.
They're
The right
pussies.
is conservative. And
Yeah, they're
if you're
pussies.
conservative, what does that mean? You conserve. You tend not to want to do what you see as wrong, right?
Yeah,
And the right is successful, and they've been successful for a very long time, the left, because they're willing to do whatever it takes. They don't care if
that's
they have
right.
to lie, cheat, or steal. They will do whatever. The conservative individual, not only, put politics aside, a conservative individual won't do that because
Yep.
they conserve. It's just the nature of the beast, man.
I know, and that's the problem. That
It
nature
is,
needs to be changed.
but yeah, but does it though? Because if you
Yes.
change it, then you've got something completely different, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't like. I'm as far right wing as somebody you'll ever meet, and I do not like conservatives. I would rather fight the communists than deal with these cucks who refuse to wield power. Refuse, constantly refuse. If you do not wield power against darkness, darkness will overwhelm the light every time, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happening.
It
It's exactly what's happening now.
does this guy think he can actually win in North Carolina though with this kind of attitude?
Hey, he might. I don't know.
I don't think he has a chance. It's too over the top. And he goes on and on and on and on. He's an idiot. I want to send blessings and love out to the Jewish community, from Gina. When I was being smeared, canceled, and misunderstood, it was a Jewish man, Ben Shapiro, who reached out and asked if I'd like to talk about it. And yes, and claps
As
for
much as I
Ben Shapiro,
dislike
dude.
Ben, that was a masterstroke. That was an absolute masterstroke by
Oh
Ben. That
yeah.
was a great move. I can't hate him for it, and
Well,
Gina
Ben
deserves it. She is
Ben
a
is a
sweetheart.
Jubis. Keep this in
Yeah,
mind. He knows how to make the monies.
he
They are
does.
the
He's quite
kings of
adept at it.
usury. If is that enough anti-Semitism for you today,
Yeah,
guys?
he
And
is adept at it. That's
and
for
I'm
sure.
telling you, Israel is grooming that boy to be a premier of Israel in the future. I'm telling you.
Could be. Could be. Could be.
Anyway,
No, I
well,
think. I think the genuflection to Whoopi is a sign that the people on the right want to lose, because it's just another example of they just simply don't understand what they're dealing with. These aren't just bad actors who will, oh, they maybe they'll say mean things to you. No. These are people who are literally pushing to make it legal for your bank to shut your money off and take it if you have the wrong opinion.
yeah,
I'm not making that up. That's what they want. They want to destroy you. They
yeah,
want to ruin you. They want to take your homes from you and give them to the oppressed people if you have the wrong opinion.
that's true.
That's what you're dealing with here. This isn't the time to talk about your damn principles of what you won't do. You either defend or you die. It's that
Yeah.
simple. That's
Uh,
why guys like DeSantis are so effective, because he's on offense. Now
yeah,
he could go a lot farther, and I hope he does. But that's gonna be what it takes. If we have to abandon conservatism and become whatever it is that's farther than that,
mm,
the shepherd, if you will. Some people call it the sheepdogs. We have to get back to reciprocity. We have to get back to a situation where there is mutual reciprocity between both sides, or it's going to lead to a genocide.
that's true.
Guaranteed it
Um,
will.
and there is a time you have to take the field,
Yeah,
and it's just
yes.
that's the way it is.
If you
But
want to be a conservative, that's fine, but there's a point to conservatism, and that is to conserve. And the only way to conserve your flock as a shepherd when the wolves come is to kill the damn wolves. That's
that
it.
that is true. That is true. Anyway, we'll see how it all works out because the one big benefit that the conservatives and their inaction have is it is 100% true and inevitable. The left will eat itself,
That's right.
and it's constantly doing so. And I have an example of that right here. I have two of them.
I
Now,
love it.
I haven't covered the Joe Rogan thing very much because everyone knows about it. This is just one example. Go ahead.
Woke actress Sharon Stone calls Joe Rogan an a-hole, accuses the podcaster of risking people's lives with his idiocy during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. This is just one example. You guys all know there are Hollywood, and the Democrats have put out the call, get Joe Rogan. Everybody and their
Yep.
brother is coming out making a comment about Joe Rogan. Here's just another celebrity jumping on board. They even had Dwayne Johnson get on board. They had Elvira getting on board. Everybody's on board. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Uh, you know, I guess the only way for me to respond to it is what? Since when has Joe Rogan said anything about COVID-19 in any way negative? I don't
Well,
understand. I do believe he's
define negative.
vaccinated. I do believe he's
No, he's
taken a
not.
bunch of he's not?
He's not vaccinated.
Yeah,
According to him,
but
he's not. He said he didn't get it because he
well,
already
that's
had it.
fine, but I don't think he said don't get it. What
Oh,
I've seen him have on his show is actual doctors coming in and talking about it reasonably, just saying, "Well, okay,
yes.
doc, tell us what's going on." I mean, Joe Rogan is not. If you ever watch his show, he's not the dude who gets up and tells you something. He sits there and
Right.
asks questions of experts, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool, dude. You want to hit?" That's Joe Rogan. He's
Yes.
not giving
Well,
you
these
his
people haven't.
opinion.
Yeah, these people haven't watched it, obviously. Like, to sit here and think that Joe Rogan is somehow facilitating dangerous misinformation and he's personally promoting things that are dangerous is ridiculous. All
It
he's done
is.
is talk about his personal experiences with COVID, talk about what his doctors actually prescribed for him to do with COVID, and he let the real problem is he let the cat out of the bag because the media and their flunkies, these filth
Yeah.
have been telling people that X, Y, and Z doesn't work on COVID, right? It simply doesn't work. We have to do everything we can to keep people from taking it, which I don't understand why that matters. If it doesn't work, then who cares if they take it? And things of this nature, because their masters at Big Pharma need to make money off this vaccine. That's why. Let's be honest with it.
No,
That's what it is.
and also the mass media can't stand the fact that Joe Rogan has more viewers than all of them combined.
Yes.
Um,
Well,
uh,
that's the other end of it.
that's a
But
big issue.
all
Yeah.
he did was talk about what he took, right? And I don't think well, he probably has done it on his show. But he just talked about what he took, what his doctors prescribed for him, and he
Mhm.
beat it in 3 days. Then he had the literal inventor, or one of the inventors, a person who literally has 9 patents for the technology that the mRNA vaccines are based off of,
Mhm.
um,
An expert.
on his show. The expert. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get much more experty than that, and he's on his show saying, saying what he said, and basically that these things are this dangerous and this and this and this, and kind of broke it down.
Yeah.
And of course, Twitter banned him off of everything because how dare he
Have
besmirch Big
the
Pharma?
expert on. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's had another guy on who's also an expert, a doctor, whose name I can't remember, but he's had a couple of people on. He even had an Australian guy come on and prove, at least to some degree, prove him wrong on one of his claims about COVID that was incorrect. That's from the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not like he's just talking to only, some quacks on the
Oh,
internet,
he
some
never
guy named
does, dude.
Shirley.
He talks to people from all across the spectrum. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's just if you ever watched even a single Joe Rogan, you know right well he's not the one talking to you.
No.
He's the stoner that's sitting there asking questions or just sitting and listening to an expert
Yeah.
on something or someone who's got something interesting to say. That's all it is. It's literally it's not Joe Rogan's opinion in the least. That's just not how he does it. And I'm curious how long before Sharon Stone complains about being forced to make her own choice and wearing a boob, open boob clothing here. You know, how dare we make her own mind up for her?
It
And
is. Rogan poked a hole in their narrative
Yeah.
that they weren't ready for, and since then it was already happening, but he really put it into high gear. It just collapsed around them afterwards because he's the biggest podcast in the world. He has the biggest reach out of anybody in the world. Period. Uh, for when it comes to, especially in the American world or the the English world. Um, and him being able to puncture that hole is a power they can't possibly
Right.
allow to exist. Like they're
And
they're
all
literally the Dark Lord in this thing, and they're not sharing power. They're just not going to do it. They'll give you a little bit to get you on their side, and then they'll crush you. That's what they do. And Rogan's learning that the hard way. And unfortunately for Joe, once you genuflect at all, that's a sign to them to send in the wolves. So
Yeah.
after this part, I don't know if you have brought up, but after this part, because he says a certain N word on his show, he said it quoting people, right? Just as a quotation for other people. Uh, they put a big compilation video together of all the times he said it and started passing that around, making
Oh,
it
yeah.
look like he, is
No,
out
I
here just
didn't.
calling every other black person N bombs. And of course, now they're trying to cancel him for that, and he's made all of the wrong decisions in regards to that, putting out videos saying I'm not racist, apologizing, groveling, deleting podcasts.
He should
They've
know
taken
that
down.
just to disregard those assholes.
He
But
absolutely should, but somebody is in his ear and got him scared, and he's done.
yeah.
He lost. I wouldn't be surprised if by next month they take him off Spotify entirely. They shut him
Yeah.
down.
Well, yeah. Now, and it won't matter because one of the things that they're doing is making him bigger than ever.
Yep.
Right? Because
Well, he's not going anywhere.
if you haven't noticed, people are sick of this shit, right? And I'm not talking about those who kind of pay attention to politics like us and keep up with it. I'm talking about people who could give a shit, right? They're starting to come on board. They're like, "Hey, wait a minute." Right? That's when you screwed up right there, is when you woke up the masses, dude. Right? And that's what
Chester,
they've
I've
done.
said it on here for pretty much the whole time that it was going to be
That's
this
true,
year,
Brett.
next year, the year after. This whole this whole box of shit will fall down. Meaning this whole system they've set up where they're canceling people on social media and stuff. I'm not saying that's ever going to go away totally. It's always been kind of a thing,
Uh-huh.
but just this whole culture of it is going to end. This SJW nonsense,
Right.
it's already ending. We're
It's
seeing it
already
ending
starting
in
to
real time.
splinter. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the problem with it is, and I know you're right. But the thing with the problem with that is the way humans are. We're
yep,
stupid. All right, let's just be
yes,
fair. We're stupid monkeys sitting in the dark, absolutely terrified, throwing our shit at the wall. That's what we
that's
are.
right.
All right. And the simple fact of the matter is, we always shift the pendulum way too far. We don't stop in the middle where it's good for everybody. We always go too far. And this shit is going to go way back the other way. I guarantee you.
Yep,
It always
and they will
does.
have earned every bit of it,
Yeah, but
every bit of it,
then it gets
and
ugly over
that's
there, dude. Right?
yep, yep, every
Whatever.
time,
But
every time. And
the
I was trying to warn them for years. I would go into these lefty circles on social media, and I would just warn them, like, listen, guys, I know you're having fun, but power wanes, and you will not hold the ring of
oh
power
yeah, yeah,
forever.
yeah.
Eventually, somebody else
Jealousy,
will have it,
jealousy comes
and
up,
you
dude.
had better pray to whatever God you believe in that that person isn't a Hitler. That
Yeah,
person isn't somebody who's willing to wield that power to great effect to destroy you.
yeah. And
Most
Brett,
likely that person is going to be is already here and probably already in the political discourse
probably,
right now.
yeah. And Brett, you're right. That is a public safety warning. Thank you, sir. But here she's got her sympathetic grandma going on. Here she's got her fuck me boots on. Sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
All righty, all right. Those boobs aren't bad for your age, ma'am. They're not.
Fake, but
You know. Anyway, moving on here. This one will be quick and
money
sweet.
goodbye. G4 TV Senior Vice President Senior Vice President Blair Herder tells gamers don't watch us after Frosk's rant. Okay,
All right.
I wasn't going to anyway.
Thank you. Next.
You're done.
Yeah.
Oh, there's it. Thandwe Newtons.
Tandy.
Thandwe.
That's what she's been going her whole life, and then all of a sudden I've gone back to my original name. Okay, go ahead.
Huh. Apology to quote to or not quote to darker skinned women exposes the rot inside Hollywood.
Yeah. Now, this girl right here is a British girl, right? British lady. And she is a mulatto. She's a
Yeah.
high yellow mulatto, right? As they call them. And yeah, whatever. The thing is especially in the West, outside of Africa, there's a reason why we don't call you Africans. Because
Mhm.
most of your, if we actually went and did blood tests for all the black people in America and Europe and stuff like that, well, especially America, you would find out that, yeah, they're probably around 60% white.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is, it's not a problem, but the reality is that the Negroid genes are highly dominant, where the rest of us have recessive genes, right? And so it takes forever for you not to have some very obviously African features to go away, right?
Yeah.
Like Miss Newton here, she probably has hardly any black in her left at all, any African left in her at all. But it's still prominent because that's how the genes work, right? So all these people that are screaming about the whites, they are actually whites by this point, but don't tell them that. But this she actually goes on a little bit of a cry here because she took roles as an actress that she thinks that because I was high and I was prettier than them that they didn't get. So it's like, is this a backhanded apology? I don't understand because you're basically saying that, oh well, because I'm high yellow mulatto and I'm much prettier than you, I got these roles and I probably should have not accepted them, which means you wouldn't have had a career and you wouldn't be here talking in the first place. Okay, okay, alrighty. But I don't know how to respond to this one, Thundera, because it's like, well, yeah, you were hired because you're cute, and you could do the job. I've seen her acting before; she's fine. And maybe they would have just found another mulatto. They wouldn't have gone and looked for some, can I say beastly girl?
Mm.
They wouldn't have done that anyway. And it's not like you haven't seen much darker skinned girls who are attractive anyhow,
Yeah.
right? But she's just going on this, she's apologizing for her existence, is what she's doing. That's exactly what she's doing. She's apologizing for existing and taking away opportunities. And it's like, well, you had no control over that anyway. No,
Mhm.
no, you weren't gonna be the one who was in charge of casting. You were looking for opportunity and you got it. So what are you talking about? But this whole article is going on about the whole high yellow thing versus the more African, because this guy is definitely East African, very prominent in his blood, right? Um, Whatever. I don't know what this article is getting a little bit on the side,
It's
but
funny, I watched a video of, I think she was in America, I don't know, what she was in the West, some
yeah,
black girl, and she's one of these, like, super pro black, doesn't like white people, blah, 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 blah. She got a DNA test done, and she was expecting it to come back as, like, Nigerian
yeah.
or, somewhere in that vicinity of Africa. Nope, it came back mostly European.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
no,
she just her face just went stone white, like, I I, uh I don't know what to do about I don't like,
you're right,
she couldn't
Grimlock.
even talk.
Yeah, no, I saw it too. Grimlock, you're 100% right. But that's the reality of it, right? Because one of the reasons why I started in the university and I've continued my whole life, although I'm basically a philologist and I work as a philologist on a day to day basis,
Yeah.
I'm also quite knowledgeable about the anthropological genetic side of things, right?
Mhm.
Which is why I write textbooks and stuff like that for RH negative and things like that, right? So this is something I know quite a bit about, philology and anthropological genetics. These are kind of things I know, my specialty areas, right?
Mhm.
And And the reason why I lean so heavy toward the genetic side of it, from an anthropological point of view, is because it's like math. It doesn't lie, right? The genetics tell a very clean and simple story. And then as a historian, especially if you work in the field, which I haven't done, in 30 years, you have to go find how that is real, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the other way around. And the genetic side of things, it's very, very interesting. It tells a very interesting story. Humans are a hybrid race. We are not a hybrid species. Sorry, we're not races. Although you can break out the Africans, the Negroids, and the other groups, which I know we separate them into Caucasoid, Mongoloid, and Mongoloid. Now they're trying to create another fourth one. But the reality is, those groups are separate. Their evolutionary lines are completely separate, right? However, even the black people who are, to be fair, they're the more pure, the actual Africans are the more pure blooded human, if you want to call them that. They're
Yeah.
much closer to a non hybridized species than the rest of us are, right? But the interesting fact of the matter is it shows us how absolutely epically dominant their genetics are, because they are, dude. There is no recessive in their genetic formula. That's not, now. I don't know if you guys understand anything about genetics. I'm trying to keep it super super simple here, but do you understand how ridiculous the statement I just made is?
Hmm.
They have no recessive genes, dude. Now and what that kind of indicates is the rest of us are purely hybrid species. But what it also shows us is that somehow or another, the rest of us were bred. Now, did we somehow manage to do that to ourselves, or did someone else do that? Now, I'm not throwing in any kind of weird conspiracy theories here. Any geneticist would agree. We are the people outside of Africa are far more akin to dog breeds than not,
Yeah.
right? And therefore, our genetics are full of recessive genes. But the Africans, although there's a huge ghost population in their genetics, we don't know where it comes from. But they're not. And it's very, very interesting. And this course applies to exactly what she's bemoaning here. Yes, I understand that some of those Negroid genes are still displaying in you, and they might well for generations more, my lady. But I guarantee you a genetic test will show that you're mainly of Middle Eastern or European descent, right?
Hmm.
And is this is not new information? Am I saying something that's revolutionary here?
No.
Yeah. So I don't know what to deal with say with this right here, because it's other than stupid. It's stupid.
Well, yeah, it's really stupid, and it's these people who have placed this massive value on pigmentation of their skin.
Yeah.
It's a much more nefarious form of what they would call racism than anything you could really accuse most white people of. Because it does things like this. It gets these people who I don't know if she's sincere or not, but let's just assume that she is,
Hmm.
who sincerely think they've done something terrible because of the color of their own skin,
I
which
know,
is
it's weird, isn't it?
ridiculous.
And
Yeah, it's
she's burning her own
ludicrous.
bridge. It's
Yeah.
weird. And
This cast self castigation, flagellation, because you were born with the wrong color of skin and other people like the color of your skin. I guess is her problem. I don't know. It's weird. That's not a problem, sweetie. Don't turn good things into bad because other people don't have them. You can't control what they envy. There's people shorter than you who you're taller than, I'm sure, who would love to be as tall as you. And they're never going to be unless they put on some heels or something. And there's nothing you can do about that. You can't this idea that attractive people or people who have natural gifts need to be somehow, what's the word I'm looking for? Not humble, because they should be humble, but they need to be somehow, there's a word for it, more gracious than necessary to other people. Uh, they need to defer to other people who don't have those things because somehow they're wrong, morally wrong, for simply existing is absolutely preposterous,
It is.
absolutely ridiculous.
It is. And,
I mean,
and
could you, Chester? You have mixed race children. Could you imagine if somebody made your daughter feel that way? How furious you'd be.
well, she'd punch him, but I get your point.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But no, and of course
President
it's dumb.
Mulatto here.
Well, hey Grimlock, what's up, dude? But I mean, it's just kind of it's really really
Stupid.
silly because let me just make this last point, and you can go, Grimlock. But there's a reason why we see a lot of physical supremacy amongst the Negroid people, and it comes into this dominant gene pool that they're playing out of. But when you look at, other than all the recessive genes that the rest of us on Earth have that kind of make us what we are, um, the only real big difference, the only kind of missing gene that the Black Africans don't have, is the wanderlust gene. They don't have that.
Yeah,
The rest of us do, and this is why, especially the worst case scenario for the wanderlust gene are definitely the Aryans, the European types, right?
yeah,
Because it's never good enough. It's never good enough. And this is what has led them to more success and more technological developments and stuff like that. It's not an actual nature of ability. It's a desire
correct.
that plow does just fine. For us, it isn't. No, no, it could be better. No, no, no. We can't leave well enough alone. That is what led
It's the
to
autism.
it
Yeah,
is the autism, but that's
yeah,
what led to all of that, very rapid separation in technological development between sub-Saharan Africans and the rest of the world. It's because for them they don't have that. So hey, that thing works. What do I need a new one for? That's it.
yep,
It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with ambition. It's simply a lack of a gene that doesn't make you, that just makes you not satisfied, right?
correct.
And that's it. It's a
A
very very
genetic
simple thing.
predisposition to contentment, because
Yeah,
our emotions aren't some magical force, guys. They're part of our brain chemistry mostly, for the most part. And or obviously food and things can affect them, but by and large, it's brain chemistry. And that brain chemistry, by and large, comes from your genetics. So there's a reason why
sure.
certain family members will have anger issues. There's an angry family over
Oh, it's
here, right? They just
transmissible.
people with
This
angry. Yeah,
absolutely is. Yeah, yeah,
and the same thing goes with positive emotions too. And contentment is a positive emotion.
yeah, yeah. No,
And I think that's basically what we're getting at here is they have a genetic predisposition to being content.
no, they do, and a lot of people, actual racist people throughout history have tried to make that look as they're primitive, they're not human, they're less
Yeah,
than, et cetera, et cetera, et
correct.
cetera. And no, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just
No,
simply lack of the wanderlust gene. And now that we know genetically that that we don't even come from the same family tree, Black Africans and us, if you go back far enough in time, you'll find some connection, of course. But that whole Neanderthal, Denisovan, Heidelbergensis type of family tree line, we're not together. We're separate, right? And they developed in their way, and you got to keep in mind that at that, but we're going way back in time here. There was no North Africa; it was under the water, so they were
yeah,
just an island in the south, right? So and they
yep,
were isolated and separate, just like the marsupials of Australia, and they developed in that way, and they developed this contentment where the rest of us, probably because of the constant absolute natural disasters and ice ages and crap like that, where the people who had the sense to get up and move along are the ones who survived. That's probably how it developed over time, right? Because adaptation is real. And
correct.
that's it. It's not complicated. I'm sorry, Grimlock, go
Not
ahead.
magic.
Um, I just find the whole situation of it really stupid because and this is one of those things that have been going on with black people for all my life, where it's this belief that that certain people only can get that far because they're light skinned or they're trying to be white.
Yeah,
And yes, does Hollywood actively search for lighter skinned or whiter acting black people? Or
probably.
what is perceived of white? Yes, they do. They did it a lot in the '90s. If all you got to do is look at the MTV show The Real World back in the day. There's two kinds of black
Oh
people
yeah,
they picked. They picked the whitest acting black person they could find, and then to go to the opposite end, they would find the wildest nigga they could find.
yeah, yeah.
That was the two that they would go for. So yes, they did do it, but remember a couple of months ago where I said that a lot of the things that are going on in this country is based on two things: narcissism and envy.
Oh yeah.
Well, her having to apologize for something she basically has no control over is
Right.
that's further proof of it.
Yeah.
Because you got all these quote unquote dark skinned actresses that are narcissistic enough and envious enough to believe that they was gonna go to Hollywood and become this next big star, which 95% of people who go to Hollywood believe that they're gonna be, and only to in 3 years realize that ain't happening.
Oh sure. Yeah.
And oh, what held us back is that they picked a light skinned girl instead of me, and I was gonna take things over. Hey, look, Tandy Newton she's a good actress,
And
but
she's
she's not the
just
kind of actress where
haughty, dude.
she's not the kind of actress where people are just automatically looking for her. Like she doesn't have that kind of clout. She still auditions.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Like it ain't like where you make a movie like most people make a movie based around the premises of casting like a Tom Cruise or a Denzel Washington or somebody of that caliber. Nobody's writing a movie going, we're basing this on Tandy. It's not happening.
And
She's auditioned.
yeah,
So all these other actresses, all these other, and a lot of this comes from the feminists because we already know it's the Magilla Gorilla section. Oh, she's blocking our path. No, she's
no,
not. No,
she's not. Yeah, and besides, it's a moot argument anyway, Grimlock, because
yeah.
if you do remember back to when we were young, there was this great show called Sanford and Son, which I absolutely adored. And they you had I mean, Battle Axe Ugly Auntie,
Oh,
right?
Lawanda Page was not a looker
No, she was Battle Axe
at all.
Ugly, and she was freaking
But
hilarious.
oh yeah,
Think about Good
Lawanda
Times.
Page, Lawanda Page, because most people are not familiar that with the fact that she was a comedian and that's the reason she was on the show to
Was
begin with
yeah,
is
Red
because
Fox promoted her,
her and
right?
Red Fox. Yeah, they toured together a
He
lot.
demanded her presence, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lawanda would be one of the comedians they would demand to have canceled today because she was that raunchy.
Oh, she was hard. So was Red Fox, dude. My God.
Yeah. Oh
But I mean, I'm just saying that this is what are
yeah.
you talking about? This doesn't exist. What you're trying to say. This is a modern fabrication. Continue on. Good times. That was a very heartwarming show that had comedy in it. Was that the sitcoms of the day, and the mom in that she was great. She was a wonderful mom, and she's not a pretty lady, right?
No.
The Jeffersons, another not
I
attractive lady,
mean,
but she was a
no,
perfect,
they wasn't supposed to be models. They were supposed to be relatable, which
yes. And
they,
she
they,
was, no, you're right. And she was a perfect counterpoint to Mr. Jefferson, right? Because
yeah.
he was a racist, out of control racist, and she wasn't. This goes on and on and on. There are plenty of unattractive, dark skinned black women who have been in TV in Hollywood for a very long time.
There's been plenty of attractive dark skinned ladies. I mean, how many people right now, and she's pushing 60, still wants Angela Bassett to play Storm in the MCU?
Well, because Angela Bassett's badass. That's why.
Yeah, but I'm saying realistically, she can't do that role for the next 20
No,
years. But
she
people
can't.
still want
She
to see
can't.
her do it.
But yeah, no, that's a
So
good point. Jackie Brown, actress, what's her name again?
Pam Grier,
Pam Grier.
yeah,
There's plenty of unattractive people, but this
Grace
is a black
Jones.
conversation. There are unattractive black people, black women who've been working for a very long time. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You are not that role. You're the cutie. That's what you are.
Arnold
You're the exotic cutie, dandy.
Arnold Schwarzenegger made a movie where he allowed Grace Jones to walk around naked for
Yes,
half the
dude,
movie.
and thank God. Praise you, praise my Lord. Because Grace Jones, well, now that's an attractive lady. But that's not the argument, though. Because Grace
I think
Jones
most of
was,
that. I think most of that ties up to that flat top. If
dude, she was
God get
she
rid of
was weird, exotic, and sexy, dude. Grace Jones. But I'm just saying that's not the argument that's going on here, though, because she's an actual attractive lady. What she's saying is that ugly, unattractive black women are being oppressed by her beauty. That's what she's saying. Right?
yeah,
And what I'm saying is that's nonsense because plenty of unattractive black ladies have had work for a very long time.
well, I know, but the thing is, she's not wrong because I've seen those comments. Like all you got to do is go to a video or like a YouTube clip that she's in, and you could just see the comments about, and it's always about her being light skinned.
Yeah.
That happens a lot with a lot of light skinned dudes. It's like
Yeah, but
remember that whole thing about women and online harassment until they found out nearly 60% of all the harassment came from other women.
right. Of course that's true. We
You
all
know,
know that. You didn't need a
and and I
fucking survey for that.
and I told him, if you don't believe it, just go on any social media page and find a woman with big breasts, and God forbid she's wearing something that shows her
Oh
breasts,
man, it's just the women go
and
crazy.
and look at all the negative comments, and almost 100% of the negative comments is from the itty bitty titty committee.
No, that's true. And
So,
women can be like crabs in a bucket. That is true. But
like,
well, they very much like it. But and to be fair, what we're talking about here is definitely a black community problem. It is. I know what you're saying, and I think you're kind of pussyfooting around it. To be honest with you, because the black no seriously, because in the black community, this is not our business. That's a black community that they say, right? They are
yeah,
constantly tearing at the passable whites, and it's always the darker skinned women usually attacking the lighter skinned. It's a constant thing. It's been in my entire life. This is a black people thing. The
yeah.
rest of us
Well,
don't even have the conversation. Doesn't even enter our head, dude.
it's the duplicitous nature of blacks in America since I've been alive. And I know some people will go, well, it used to be but white people did used to. Yes, they did used to pick on their looks. That is true. But also, you had this wonderful leader who told you about this thing called. His name was Malcolm X. I know it's Black History Month, but we don't talk about Malcolm X because he's not one of the approved Negroes.
He's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Uh-uh.
no, he's not.
No, because he was actually
That's
right. You see, we can't be can't be having that. Can't be
yeah.
having
Well,
it.
okay. I never thought about it until I got older. But one thing they always told us when I was a kid,
Hmm.
whenever they mentioned Malcolm X, they always said extreme,
Yeah.
violent, extreme. You always heard those words verbatimly thrown when with him. Extreme and violent. And no, you can go on YouTube and you can listen to his speeches. In fact, I was at the gym listening to the Field Negro and House Negro speech last night, where he said, and this is why he was one of the unapproved Negroes. He was one of the leaders who said, "Do no harm, but if they put their hands on you, put them in the cemetery." He was not that turn the other cheek, singing "We shall overcome." No, he said,
No.
"Look, do no harm, but if they don't, do not let acts of aggression go unpunished."
Sounds
Yeah, no,
familiar.
and it depends on which Malcolm X you're
And
talking about, dude. Are you talking about fresh out
well,
of prison, angry Malcolm X, newly reformed
this
Muslim, or are you talking
well
about older Malcolm
the
X, right?
that particular speech is from 1963.
Mm.
This is after he openly, and that's a great speech to listen to because he calls out the approved Negroes. He calls out every last one of them in this speech
He does.
about taking government money and how the March on Washington played out to the approved speeches, who was allowed on the committee. He named names, he named places. This is why he's unapproved.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Because all the white liberals would get outed on that
Yeah,
too.
and
But he
and
also had a speech for black people that said, "Who taught you to hate yourself?"
yeah, no, and he
And he
also
was,
said the most dangerous the biggest danger to the black community in America was the white liberal.
and it
Yeah.
still
And
is.
he's 100% right, and it still is. You better damn believe it still is. And the reason why Martin Luther King is praised is because he can't, he has a dream, right? But
Yeah.
actually, if you go and pay attention to what Martin Luther King said, he agreed with Malcolm X on nearly every topic.
A
Well,
lot, many of them.
yeah, but even
He
then,
just he
if
just
like
Yeah.
had a much more marketable way of
Charismatic.
expressing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
that, and he
He
that, and he was taking money from the government.
I'm
yeah.
sure he was. But I mean, that's not
Oh,
here
but
nor
that's
there.
another
But
thing. That's another thing. Malcolm named names, and names the amounts too.
Yep.
well, that's
So,
why Farrakhan had him killed, right? I mean, and that's
well,
also
there was a lot of help in killing him. They wanted him.
They
well, I
needed
mean,
him a rift to run,
yeah,
and he
they
was getting.
did, and it's also what put Muhammad Ali in line, because he was really getting on board with the Malcolm X
Yeah,
thing, and Farrakhan
yeah,
and his people. I think they threatened his life, to be honest with you.
Probably.
We're getting into kind of historical things that you should
but
go read. If you haven't read up
yeah,
on, you don't know
but
what we're talking about, go read
or
because it
just
is
listen
interesting.
to them. They're on YouTube. You can hear these, or hell, if you can find the old vinyls, they was recorded on vinyl. You can hear it for yourself. You don't
Yeah,
have to take nobody else's word. You can hear it for yourself. But he had a speech that was talking to black people called "Who Taught You to Hate Yourself," and he constantly talked about the self-esteem issues that black men have. He said, if the Negro man does not first learn to love himself, how does he expect a white man to?
right.
Yeah.
And this picture right here,
Still
and I
have
know.
that problem.
Well, it's interesting because you get into Malcolm X and stuff and some of their
Yeah.
opinions, and Hollywood's take on things, of course, are very different. Even though they're supposed to be the great white protectors,
Uh-huh.
because well, no, seriously, like one of the big things you hear out of Hollywood, they're constantly pushing is about the black man or even the woman getting with the white girl, right?
Oh yeah,
Now, I'm sure there are some dudes who do that, but in general, especially when you talk about Malcolm X and stuff like that and a lot of leaders in the modern black community, they're very against that.
yeah. Well, but also that number is way overblown too, because
It's Hollywood, dude. White
as
liberals, man.
one Kevin Samuels is pointing out, 85% of black men marry black women. So you're really getting mad about 15%? Is that really what you're pretending that this epidemic is? 15%?
Yeah, but I think my question was more along the lines. I know it's bullshit. Yeah, I agree with
Well,
you.
I
But
mean,
why?
like when I hear them feign outrage about it, it's
Right.
like, um,
But why do you think the white liberals want the blacks to hybridize themselves? Why do you think that's because it is obviously important to them. It's
Well,
constant.
I
It's
I
constant.
would say it's not that they want the blacks to do it because they know what you know. They want the whites to do it because they want the whites gone. That's why. They want those dominant black genes to override the less dominant white
Yeah, but
genes.
isn't that
well,
seem a bit racist toward
uh,
the black dudes? I mean,
well,
Yeah,
well,
it's
also,
racist towards everybody. It's actual eugenics. That's what they're
well,
after.
they
al-
can't
well,
blacks can't
also,
be proud of their heritage. I mean, what? I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead, Grandma.
also is that it feeds further into the white savior's ego, because that's what most white liberals see themselves as, is
yeah.
these white saviors. That's how you can have somebody like fucking Mark Wade get on the internet and talk about how he's defending Negroes from internet bullies. And I wouldn't let Mark Wade defend a plate of corn dogs at a buffet
No.
looking
Um,
like he looked.
and
But
it is
it,
weird, dude. It is a
they love
weird.
that. They love touting on things like that. It's like it's one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Sowell when they asked him what did he think about the election of Barack Obama. He said that was nothing but a victory lap for white liberals.
Yeah, true.
Because
It's true, and it's weird because I mean, me personally,
Yeah,
obviously, I don't care who we hook up with. I'm in a multiracial relationship right now. I don't give a
yeah,
shit about that. But it's like maybe the black dudes do care.
yeah.
Maybe they don't want to blur their lines. Why
But
don't you
see,
let
but
them make their own
see,
choices?
yeah, but see, that's the thing. Yours was organically. It wasn't socially engineered like what they're
No, it
trying to
wasn't
do,
planned at all. No.
which is why the white liberals love
Well,
that shit.
the other
They love
side of
being
that
able to
coin,
say that.
Yeah.
other side of that coin is what if white people don't want their genetic heritage erased? That's evil, right? If white people don't want it, it's evil. You're some kind of
Yeah.
evil Hitler racist if
Well,
you
And,
want
and
your
that's but
grandchildren to look like your grandfather,
and
at least relatively. That's
and that
evil. You're a monster and you should be purged from the earth. But if you want them to
and the
look like something that looks nothing like any human in the history of the world because of the extreme mixtures, that's
mhm.
virtue. So for some reason,
and,
that's
for some
virtue.
reason, yeah.
and the funny reason is if people actually look up the demographics on every ethnic group or race, whatever you want to call them,
Hmm.
they're usually around that 15% that black people are. It's there's not that big of a difference
No.
No.
Yeah.
if you bear out the numbers. The only way that number looks bigger is when you start breaking it down to the per capita, depending on where you are. Yeah, the per capita is going to look bigger here because blacks are only 13 to 14% of the country, whereas with white people it's nearly 60, if not still over 60. Um, it's still the same percent. It's still around that 10 to 15%,
Yeah, no,
give or take.
it's probably a natural thing. It's part of that.
Yeah.
It's probably a natural thing. That's true.
And
Now, I mean, to just kind of lean into what Thundero said a little bit. Now, even though I'm a perfect poster child for this conversation because I am in a multiracial relationship,
Yeah.
but I also agree that all the separate 42 races of Earth, I'd kind of like them all to stick around.
Yeah.
I don't want them any of them to be wiped out completely.
And in fact, what I would like is I'd like some more. So I don't mind necessarily when we get some mixture.
Sure.
Mixture's a good thing. But as long as that mixture is organic and natural and isn't being socially engineered, whether it's for the detriment of one race and the benefit of the other, doesn't matter. Even if it's
yeah,
for the detriment of everybody. I don't want it done at all. I just want people to let nature take its course and let people do what they do, and
Yeah,
people will do what they do. Like he was saying, most people will sort themselves. Most people
that's
will end
right.
up
yes,
with people of the same race,
That's right.
and that'll just be what it is. And then you'll have outliers who don't. Who
Yeah.
gives a shit?
and,
Nobody
No one
really
cares.
cares.
Yeah.
We care
but
about the fact that it's being socially engineered to happen.
You're right.
That's the
yeah,
problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
but even with the outliers, all right, like all right, Chester, for example. Now you're in a multiracial relationship, but that wasn't your intent. You didn't go out saying I'm getting me a Japanese woman and I'm saving my virginity until I got one.
Oh no, I was
You
curious
was
if the rumors were true. Do their pussies go sideways? That was my intent.
but I'm
And
saying you
just to
had
let
you
you
Unfortunately
know,
had
they
not.
don't.
Yeah, the world's not that magical. Oh.
but I'm saying you tested the waters. You had your share of white women. You had your share of various other women, and you found the one that fit you. She just so happened to be what she was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely true of me.
right?
I
And
definitely
and
sowed oats, Grimlock.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things I laugh the most when I hear these conversations, especially when it comes to black people. It's like, well, had it ever occurred to you that maybe he had a relationship with like maybe five black girls before, and it just for whatever reasons it didn't work out, so they took a chance and maybe tried him an Asian woman and it worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
You
true.
know,
Because I don't think it really is racial when it comes to that. I think it's just finding someone who you groove with.
yeah,
It doesn't
and
really
also
matter.
where you are.
Well, it's
Yeah,
also there's also a strong correlation on people who look either look similar to you or have very similar traits to other
that's true.
family members
That is
that are
true.
Yeah,
old, like your parents or whatever. And it's, the old saying, the stereotype is you marry your mother, a man marries his mother, and a woman marries her
yeah,
father. I think
because
that's pretty true most of the time. You marry people very similar to your opposite
Yeah,
sex
I
parent.
hated
yeah.
my mother, so that's probably what happened.
But I mean, but also they're not even counting like where you go in life. It's like if I moved to Japan and I lived in Japan for the
Hmm.
next 20 years,
Yeah,
based on Japan's demographics, I might get married in the next 20 years post moving to Japan. I'm guessing the probability is somewhere near the 90th percentile that
hmm,
it would be a Japanese woman.
sure.
Yeah. Or
Environmental
And that would
maybe
effects.
a
be
Japanese man,
That's
and
you
that
true.
would be this and it would be the same case if I moved to Nigeria for 20 years. Chances are if I get married in the next 20 years that probably going to be a Nigerian woman.
Great thing
Probably.
Just
about
saying.
Nigeria is Nigeria is disproving everybody. Nigeria is coming up hard,
They
and they're
are.
Yes.
like economically, they're actually starting to become a very stable country, and that's a good thing for obviously Nigeria. But it's disproven your super hardcore, white supremacists, and it's disproven, right wing white supremacists because the super hardcore white supremacists are the woke people. The
Yeah.
other ones who are on the other way, who don't like them or whatever, it's disproven both camps because I was told that you see they can't come up in Africa because white supremacy has kept Africa down for so long from the left, and then on the super far right, I was told that they're too stupid to come up. Well,
Yeah,
what's
no.
happening in Nigeria
Yeah.
then? Why are they
Well,
coming up?
you see, the difference you
Water.
have going on here, and I can break. You don't need a political word. You can break it down very simply. You have a disparity or a difference between fear and agenda, right?
Yeah,
You have some people who we would consider racist, and it's not. They don't actually think that they're superior. They're afraid of
yeah,
change. They're afraid of losing something. But now
Yeah.
these liberals, however, it has nothing to do with fear. It has to do with self-righteous agenda. It's very
yes,
different. And if you ask me which is worse, they both can be dangerous. But if you ask me which is worse, the obviously the person with an agenda is worse than the person who is simply afraid.
yeah. The
Yeah.
self-righteous, as C.S. Lewis put it, the tyrant that's doing so for your own good because they have the approval of their own conscience. I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
But that's
Yeah.
basically correct. Somebody who thinks they're on the righteous cause, so they have to burn that witch. They have to, purge the Jew. They have to do X, Y, and Z. Or if you're a communist, the purges were for the greater good. You see, they had to go because they were dissidents and made the party look bad.
Mhm.
These sorts of things they rationalize away because they think they're on some great moral crusade.
True.
And that's exactly what we're dealing with here. The people on the other side who are driven by a fear and really that's mostly what it is. It's just a fear or a disdain for a stereotype, things of this nature. They're mostly harmless, to be honest. I mean, they can be dangerous, like if you get some like a lynching going or something. But that stuff hasn't really happened in America in so long. It's ridiculous to even pretend it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And you know another thing, pro thing for black girls, that's really great about them. It's really easy to see their vaginas in the dark.
I'm taking that one was learned from experience.
It was,
Listen,
baby.
Chester, I always have sex with the lights on,
It
so I wouldn't
was.
know.
Oh my God, she was a beautiful girl too, but it was so weird when you anyway. Huh. Anyway, I do have other things. I had one other one, but I don't think I have time. I know I don't have time. I'll have to do this
Oh,
tomorrow because this one will actually be fun. It's the posters. There's 23 posters come out with all the different rings, and I think this might be fun to look through, but I don't
is there
have time today.
23 rings?
I think so,
Is
but
there only 23?
I could be wrong. Not
I thought
counting
it
the
was only
one.
19.
I don't know. I could be wrong. But and we're going to look at it tomorrow and see. Nevertheless, interesting conversations. A lot of foolish silliness in the world, of course. That's why we have a laugh at it. And I think in the last conversation we had, it shows the absolute level of hardcore racism that comes out of liberals toward blacks, particularly. Their
Okay.
racism is all encompassing, but the blacks, particular, they really have no respect for them because when we look at now and you have in a movie, you can't have a white person with a white person in a couple anymore, and usually they couple them with a black most of the time, right? So and they're
Yep.
like, oh, this is progressive, but is it? What about from the other side? Do you think black people don't want to see themselves with black people? Why are they the
Oh
ones
yeah.
chosen to fill that color hole? You know what I mean?
The color hole. That. That kind of sounds
I
like something
I
that
had to I
recently in
had to
Springfield.
reference back to it. I couldn't resist.
The color hole.
Yeah. Tell you what, she was a pretty girl though, dude. She was mm-mm-mm. But anyway, that's that. So, Grimlock, you got any closing comments on this today, dude?
The clown world continues.
It does, baby.
As George Carlin famously once said, that when you're born on this earth, you get a ticket to the freak show. When you're born in America, you have a front row seat.
Damn right, dude.
And these seats recline nowadays, so lean back, get your popcorn.
Popcorn ready.
The entertainment doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
That's pretty good, Grimlock. I give you 10 points for that one. That was pretty good. That's an
No
namaste right
brakes.
there. It
No
is.
brakes on this train.
Yeah. All right, Thunder, take us out of here, man.
I have a real simple one. I've done it before, but we were talking about it to some degree. It's about self-love.
Ooh.
It's life matters through love, my friend. If that be so, why does loving yourself not factor in? It ought to. You're not capable of expressing something for others you do not express for yourself.
Yes, although communal love is better. Later, everybody. That was a masturbation joke.
I know. Apparently, they're at one point somewhere in one of the little areas in Canada, they're raiding the truckers. The police are, so we'll see what happens there. I think they're just ticketing them.